If you've ever developed and shipped your changes on the same day, go ahead and hit that like and subscribe button, folks, and welcome back to another episode of Benzinga's Pre-Market Playbook as we get you set for Tuesday's session here. Remember, no data today, no data tomorrow, but the earnings have started to pick up. We have GM and 3M here this morning. We have Capital One and a host of other reports here tonight. So we are starting to pick up in this earnings season, and we can expect some volatility from that. It is great to see a whole bunch of returning faces make it back here today. I hope yesterday finished off well for you. We're back for another market day. We're going to have some fun today. It's a T3 Tuesday. We got the bot changed around, so we're going to see how that performs. We're on real-time quotes from the Schwab Trader API. We're in real good shape here today. We also are going to have Anne-Marie setting up some earnings trades or setting up some options trades here today. So if there are any earnings option trades that you would like to cover, start thinking about that now. When we bring Anne-Marie on, we will ask her. Benzinga's Pre-Market Playbook, the Tuesday edition for July 21st, 2026, begins right now. Good morning and welcome back, folks. Again, I hope that you all had a wonderful rest of your Monday, and I hope, although it's early, that your Tuesday is going well. You're in the right spot because we're going to have a good one today, that's for sure. Francis is first here today. Good morning, Francis. Welcome back. And thank you, producer. Good morning, Francis. Welcome back. Peter, good morning. A really great article in Bloomberg News yesterday. Okay, that's great that you read a great article. Any more context around that so we have an idea of what you're talking about? Good morning, Peter. It's good to see you. Welcome back. Solitary Soldier, good morning. Welcome back. Smash up that like indeed. Crispy Biscuit, good morning. Welcome back. Whisk, good morning. Welcome back. Yes, that girl, good morning. Welcome back. Zach McCracken, good morning. And good morning to the Benzie gang, of course. Derek, it's great to see you. Welcome back. Jay Wild, morning, y'all. Damn hot again this morning. You know what? It was actually not all that chilly this morning, so it feels like it's going to be a hot one here in Chicago, but we'll see. We're inside for right now. Cam, good morning. Welcome back. It's great to see you. Barb, good morning. Welcome back. Producer, locked in, ready to go. Daniel, good morning. Bavesh, good morning. Kelly, good morning. Hit that like for good luck indeed and the good vibes. Arjun, good morning. Welcome back. Matthew, good morning. Welcome back. Who else am I missing here? Liam, good morning. Welcome back. Chuck, it's great to see you again. Ed, it's all about how that positive energy. I would rephrase that and say it's all about the positive energy. That's what we do here. You start off positive, always looking up. That is a better way to go through life, at least in my experience. Lion Atlas, good morning. Hopefully you're doing well here today. Durkis, good morning. Welcome back. Linda, it's great to see you as always. Welcome back. Alvin, likewise, good morning. Just passing through, good morning. Tyler, good morning. Knights Lance, good morning. Jeff, good morning. Dara, good morning. G-Cord, good morning. Marionette, good morning. Janie, good morning. Harlugo says, you are the best, good morning. Well, it's actually you folks that make this possible. If nobody joined and if nobody was positive, I wouldn't be able to give good mornings every day. So be sure to pat yourself on the back. Keep that positive energy rolling forward here. Robot to Trade, good morning. And Drew Tan, LFG, good morning, Drew. Let's go. Let's get it ready. Let's get it ready to go. Let's kick off today and get started here with our stock market today. All right, we got green arrows across the board ahead of Tuesday's open here today. S&P futures up by 0.41%. The Dow futures up by 0.22%. And the NASDAQ leading the way higher, positive by 1.31%. Let's take a look at some cues from last session, as well as what we have on deck here for today. Get you started for today's session. Healthcare, materials, and industrials led broad-based losses across the S&P 500 on Monday, while communication services and energy stocks bucked the overall trend to close higher. U.S. stock futures advanced on Tuesday as the Dow, NASDAQ, and S&P indices rose following Monday's lower close. The gains were led by a tech rally as Invesco PHLX Semiconductor ETF, or the SOXQ as the ticker, SOXQ, an ETF directly designed to track the performance of the PHLX Semiconductor Index. It jumped by 4.2% in pre-market trading. Its top components are NVIDIA, ticker NVDA, Micron, ticker MU, Broadcom, ticker AVGO. And we're also trading higher before the opening bell on Tuesday. Meanwhile, Yemen's Iran-aligned Houthis announced a naval blockade on Saudi Arabia on Monday, threatening to open a new front in the U.S.-Iran conflict and further endangering global trade and energy supplies beyond the Persian Gulf. Additionally, at President Trump's direction, U.S. forces carried out a new round of strikes against Iranian military targets to degrade Iran's ability to threaten commercial shipping. The 10-year Treasury bond yielded 4.59%, and the 2-year bond was at 4.2%. The CME Group's FedWatch tool projections show that the markets are pricing an 83.4% likelihood of the Federal Reserve leaving the current interest rates unchanged during the July meeting. Now, we've got several stocks in focus here for you today. The first one is going to be Cracker Barrel Old Country Store. Ticker on this one is CBRL. It was 2.34% higher in the pre-market on Tuesday after it announced the completion of a sale-leaseback deal for 26 company-owned store locations with an institutional real estate investor, netting roughly $77 million in proceeds. It said comparable store restaurant sales decreased approximately 2.5%, and comparable store retail sales increased approximately 0.5% over the first 11 weeks of the fiscal fourth quarter. The next stock on our list is going to be Steel Dynamics. The ticker is STLD, and it was 1.9% lower after reporting mixed results for the second quarter. Its earnings of $3.69 per share, which missed the consensus estimate of $3.77 per share, and put up sales of $6.092 billion, which beat the consensus of $5.57 billion. The next stock on our list is going to be Nebius Group, and the ticker is NBIS. It jumped 7.6% as it revealed NVIDIA revealed, NVDA, revealed that it beneficially owns over a 9% stake of 22.25 million Class A ordinary shares of Nebius, and that's according to a new filing that came out on Monday. The next stock on our list is going to be Archer Aviation, and the ticker is ACHR. It rose 2.07% as the company unveiled its autonomous aircraft with Anduril for defense use called Thunder. The next stock, and actually the final stock on our list here today, is going to be IREN, ticker IREN, and it was up 4.6% as it signed a $2.8 billion deal worth of cloud service contracts with multiple AI developers, and also raised its year-end annualized run rate revenue target for AI cloud businesses to $4 billion, which is up from $3.7 billion previously. All right, let's take a look at the SPY chart and see where we sit, see if we got anything different here today. To be quite honest with you, we just continue to trade sideways. Now, yesterday's closing candle did mean that we closed beneath the 20 and beneath the 50. Today, we find ourselves slightly above the 50-day moving average, 1 point above that. The values are as follows. The 50-day moving average is 744.23, and the 20-day moving average is 744.85. Realistically, this entire 744 handle should make some type of support here today. We'll see if it's able to hold. Otherwise, if we break, we're probably looking at yesterday's low. I've got that at 741.51. And then we also have the 740 support level, previous breakout level that we've been looking at. Ultimately, we are still trading sideways, and this really comes down to what is the catalyst that's going to take us out of this sideways channel? Maybe it's earnings. We haven't seen that yet. Maybe it's the Fed decision. We don't know. So we're kind of waiting for the other shoe to drop, if you will. If we continue to break down, we'll be looking at that 740 and 731.70 area. Those should provide some support. But again, we'll wait until the market tells us what it wants to do instead of front running it. Now, let's take a look at some insights from analysts here. According to Bitunix's analyst Dean Chen, global financial markets face heightening macroeconomic risks, ongoing supply chain stress, and persistent Federal Reserve policy uncertainty. Chen emphasizes that escalating geopolitical conflicts in crucial shipping bottlenecks, such as the Strait of Hormuz, Bab el-Mandeb, and the Black Sea, are creating a dual energy and food supply shock. Rising oil price risks stoking broader inflation, which complicates the Fed's monetary path. Addressing these cross currents, Chen notes that, quote, the latest U.S. inflation data has changed the short-term market narrative, but it has not fully resolved the debate over monetary policy direction, end quote. Furthermore, he warns that the economic backdrop, quote, increasingly resembles a slowing growth but sticky inflation environment, end quote. Rather than anticipating a straightforward market trend, Chen observes institutional investors prioritizing liquidity to navigate multiple outcomes. In response to shifting rate expectations and global liquidity constraints, he highlights that capital is concentrating in fewer high-conviction growth names rather than lifting all risk assets equally. Consequently, Chen cautions that market direction will remain volatile, heavily tied to energy trends, Fed signals, and broader risk appetite. So we're still in the same boat that we've been in for some time. And again, until we find what catalyst it is that's going to change that, we're likely going to remain in that boat. Now, let's take a look at some of the news here. One of the big ones, we kind of anticipated this, but now we're getting it for sure. Taiwan Semiconductor, they're raising their prices here. Brace for pricier chips as Taiwan Semiconductor reportedly plans a 10% price hike here. Again, we've seen this with other companies like Apple raising the price of their phones. Now we're seeing it here with Taiwan Semiconductor. This is definitely something that we kind of saw coming. Taiwan Semiconductor Manufacturing, or ticker TSM, the stock climbed nearly 4% in Tuesday's pre-market session as investors returned to semiconductor stocks. NASDAQ futures rose 1.37%, while the S&P futures gained 0.57%, and this supported risk appetite across the technology sector. These early gains reflect renewed buying interest in large-cap chip makers as investors rotate back into growth stocks. Taiwan Semiconductor remains in a long-term uptrend despite recent weakness. The latest move suggests investors may be buying the recent pullback rather than viewing it as the start of a broader reversal. Sentiment received an additional boost after Bloomberg, citing the Nikkei, reported that Taiwan Semiconductor is planning to raise chip manufacturing prices by 5 to 10% in 2027. The price increases are intended to offset higher costs for materials, equipment, and capacity expansion driven by strong artificial intelligence demand. CEO C.C. Wei reiterated that the company's pricing strategy is, quote, strategic, not opportunistic, end quote, as it continues investing heavily in new manufacturing capacity, including its $265 billion Arizona expansion. Bloomberg also reported that the company is delaying the proposed increases until 2027 to give customers more time to adjust. Now, that sounds great on the surface. How will this actually work out? That's another story here. As far as TSM goes, we're actually still pretty constructive here. In fact, we can take a look at the chart here. Taiwan Semiconductor trades about 18.6% above its 200-day simple moving average and 6.1% above its 100-day. And that, in fact, keeps the long-term trend positive. The stock is below its 20-day and 1.8% below its 50-day moving average. So let's go back to Pro here real quick. Beg your pardon. And let's take a look at the TSM chart and figure out where we're sitting here. Now, we've come off these recent highs. It did make a double top. That's right about 477. We broke through the 20, found support at the 50, retested the 20 to go back up to those highs. We were rejected, couldn't hold the 50 this time, and now we found a bounce at the 100. So looking to just kind of repeat this pattern, are we able to break through the 50? And in this case, the 20 is it's pitching down and really kind of coming in to provide resistance to that potential breakout. Are we able to break out from this area, or do we find resistance like we did the last time up here in July 9th and then roll back over? In the event that we roll back over, I would suspect that the 100-day moving average would actually give way, and that would set up a move back down to the 200-day moving average to find some support there. If we back out from the chart here, you see the last time we dipped beneath the 200-day, found resistance here. It looks like we dipped beneath that in February of 2025, tried to break out in March 2025, sold off to the 500, and then finally did break out from the 200-day in May of 2025. So it took a couple of months once we went under it. But once we rebroke that, look at the run that this thing made. And it just followed that 50 and that 100 all the way up. So it's going to be very important to figure out what TSM's next move is going to do. The only thing we can do as a group is play the hand that's dealt to us here, and see what kind of trading action we get here on TSM. But there's the news. They're raising their chips. Really shouldn't be that much of a surprise to anybody. All right. Next story here. This is going to be on Apple. Apple stock hits a historic 11 times sales peak. And this comes ahead of Tim Cook's final earnings call as CEO before he turns it over to John Ternus. Apple, ticker AAPL's valuation has officially shattered records, trading at an unprecedented 11 times its sales revenue, just as CEO Tim Cook prepares to oversee his final earnings report. The technology behemoth touched an intraday all-time high of $334.99 on Friday, July 17th, reflecting surgical investor optimism in artificial intelligence and pushing the company to its, quote, highest valuation level in company history, end quote. Apple's recent stock surge on Friday briefly propelled it past NVIDIA, ticker NVDA, to reclaim the title of the world's most valuable company, with a market valuation reaching $4.88 trillion. I remember when $1 trillion was like a big deal. Now we have multiple companies over that. Apple's about to hit $5 trillion. How quickly things change. This milestone highlights a significant shift in market perception regarding the company's technological roadmap. Quote, Apple was seen as a laggard in the AI race because it wasn't spending to develop models. But now sentiment has changed, end quote. That was from Tony Meadows, head of investment at BRI Wealth Management, and he told that to The Guardian. The introduction of a revamped Siri and expanding AI features has reinvigorated a consumer base that initially worried Apple had fallen behind. This massive valuation shift was echoed by market strategist Charlie Bellio, who noted on X that Apple is trading at nearly 11 times sales, the highest valuation level in the company's history. The soaring share price coincides with a monumental leadership transition. Bank of America securities analyst Wamsi Mohan characterized the upcoming July 30 third quarter earnings report as, quote, the end of an era, end quote, as it marks the final call with Tim Cook as CEO before hardware veteran John Ternus takes over the helm in September. While reiterating a buy rating and a $380 price target, Mohan remains cautious about short-term hardware cycles. Quote, overall builds are likely strong, but we are taking a conservative approach. iPhone launch cadence can change some seasonality, which we are reflecting, end quote. As the stock hovers near its absolute peak, Mohan highlighted that, quote, investor questions focus on sustainability and strong iPhone demand and whether the super cycle thesis can really play out, end quote. So let me know what you think about Apple here. Is it going to have a good earnings report? Is there going to be fanfare for Tim Cook's last earnings? Are the questions going to be softballs just to kind of let him off the hook? I'd be curious to see how this stock reports here. I'd also be very, very curious to see how the market takes this. Obviously, they like Tim Cook. The shareholders like Tim Cook. The price of Apple stock likes Tim Cook. How are they actually going to respond to him finally leaving? That's a good question. We'll have to wait and see. Now, the next story here, this is on Elon Musk. Bill Ackman says, quote, never bet against Elon Musk, end quote. And that is amid SpaceX's decline, and he explains why Pershing Square doesn't own SpaceX. This should be an interesting one here. And I know that a lot of us are kind of waiting for the same thing, right? Like we think that SpaceX down the road will make for a good investment, but we all kind of think that this is going to come in a little bit more. We want to see what that first earnings report, which by the way is confirmed now for August 4th after the market closes. So we know when we're going to be getting our first earnings. We've talked about the lockup schedule and how important that's going to be. Now we get to see how this all shakes out. Investment firm Pershing Square, ticker PS, their founder Bill Ackman has backed Elon Musk and SpaceX, ticker SPCX, calling the commercial spaceflight company a, quote, very interesting business, end quote. Breaking news there. During an interview with Money News Network on Monday, Ackman was asked which AI company he would choose to back between Anthropic, OpenAI, and SpaceX. The investor said that Anthropic was the leader in frontier models, while Ackman had concerns about losses for OpenAI in the, quote, foreseeable future, end quote. Speaking about SpaceX, Ackman said that the company's Starlink was enormously profitable and a near monopoly in the global satellite-based internet services. He also said that SpaceX was the only company that could provide businesses with the ability to rent 100,000 GPUs, end quote. Ackman also called Musk the most talented technologist, entrepreneur of our generation, but said that SpaceX's price was the only question at 6 or 7 trillion, which meant there was less upside with the company. Quote, the word is never bet against Elon, end quote. However, Ackman outlined that SpaceX wasn't part of Pershing Square's portfolio because it didn't have the degree of predictability we're looking for, end quote. And I think that's an important. Aspect. I know when we trade here, we all. I think for the most part, from what I gather, we all trade based on what a chart tells us. We're always looking for that edge. We're always looking for that predictability that Ackman's talking about. If the stock comes into a support level, Mark Petrino talks about this all the time. The psychology of the market, the different areas where the stock is likely to turn around. And it seems to me that Ackman is just kind of nicely saying, well, it's a new company. We have no idea what the earnings are going to be. Ackman doesn't make investing decisions based on what the chart says, so he's going to rely heavily on the fundamentals, and we just don't know yet. Starlink definitely looks good. It's going to help pay for these launches of Starship, but What's that actually going to mean for investors? Seems like many people are actually giving this a little bit of a leash to figure out how the company is going to perform. And as far as traders go, from our aspect, we're going to get more chart data, and this is going to help us make more technical decisions that are grounded in what the chart is telling us for support, resistance, and momentum. End rant. Ackman also said that companies like Microsoft, ticker MSFT, Meta, ticker META, and Amazon, ticker AMZN, were cheap stocks. Quote, if Microsoft and Amazon and Meta are cheap stocks, which we believe they are, you could argue that the market's not expensive at all, end quote. Ackman noted that in the interview. Well, I suppose if I change the definition of expensive to be cheap, then nothing's expensive anymore. Boom, we just have our inflation problem solved. No, your groceries, I know the price has gone up, but they're actually still kind of cheap. So they're not expensive. So, come on. Come on, man. What kind of quote is that? He gave the example of buying a book at a brick and mortar store and compared buying the same book on Amazon, which he said can get the book delivered in 2 hours, end quote. Economist and Echelon Wealth Partners co-founder Peter Schiff argued on Monday that the AI bubble had officially popped as SpaceX's stocks declined. So let me just take a brief moment there. I'm having a couple of laughs at the expense of Bill Ackman, who's more successful than I am, so it is what it is. How many of you think that Peter Schiff is correct and that the AI bubble has popped? And I guess furthermore, how many of you think that the pin that popped that bubble was actually SpaceX? I have a tough time with this one. To me, it seems like SpaceX is trading down because of very predictable IPO volatility. Wouldn't necessarily cite that as proof that the AI bubble has popped, but that's just me. He, Peter Schiff, had earlier also said that SpaceX's decline could spell the end of the overpriced U.S. stock market. So it seems like he's talking about maybe a broader pullback market-wide in a lot of different assets. How many of you think that is strongly the case? Bavesh says, I strongly believe that. Cynthia says, he must really be on something. This is what makes the market, and I absolutely love this. I absolutely love this. Investor Gary Black of the Future Fund LLC has also expressed bearish sentiments on SpaceX, saying that the company's market capitalization of approximately $1.7 trillion should not mathematically result in an enterprise value to revenue multiple of about 40 times. So I guess ultimately here, where do you feel, or how do you fit on this whole thing? I personally, I think SpaceX is expensive, but really in the sense that I think I can get it at a cheaper price as the market looks forward and the market goes through its normal gyrations here. I do think in the future that the prospects are really, really bright, and adding this at depressed levels, if you will, is probably a good move. Lion here says Peter is partially right. And I mean, could I see SpaceX's move down, especially after all the fanfare around the IPO? Could I see that maybe induce some more downside momentum? Sure, I could definitely see that. And I wonder if that's what you're referring to here. I'm just not sure that this is really going to kick off this big bad bear market or a broader based correction. I'm not so sure. Arjun saying there's not much inflows into the SpaceX stock. And we talked about it joining NASDAQ. I know they also tried to join the S&P 500, but they weren't able to do that. I think that ultimately that's going to be one of the goals. So I wouldn't imagine that they're definitely going to try and, report good earnings. I don't know if they're going to be able to do that on the first one, but I think that's definitely what they're going to try and do, just to kind of get more momentum about being included in some of these indices for the forced buying. We'll see. We'll see how it shakes out. Now, Jamie Dimon, I like Jay Wild's comment. Space stuff is cool, so SpaceX will be all right. That seems very simplistic on the surface, but I 100% agree. I just can't tell you what day it's going to go crazy. And personally, I think in the near term, probably goes a little bit lower. Jamie Dimon says he's seen the numbers and SpaceX's orbital data centers could actually work. despite the technical and valuation risks. So just gave you a couple of other opinions. Jamie Dimon offering more of his thoughts here on SpaceX. JP Morgan Chase CEO Jamie Dimon on Monday called Starlink, quote, an extraordinary product, and said that SpaceX plans to build artificial intelligence data centers in orbit, and that could work, offering a prominent Wall Street endorsement as the newly public company's shares hover near their IPO price. They're actually beneath it. Speaking on the Master Investor podcast with Wilfred Frost, Dimon called SpaceX an extraordinary company after visiting its operations. JP Morgan helped market SpaceX's record $75 billion IPO, which priced at $135 per share in June. Quote, I went to visit it, and Starlink is an extraordinary product, end quote. That came from Dimon. He went on to say, quote, I've seen numbers on the data centers in space that could actually work, end quote. Dimon said orbital computing could tap cheap solar power, reducing cooling expenses and avoid some constraints facing ground-based facilities. He acknowledged difficulties in returning data to Earth, but said laser links could redirect transmissions between satellites when a cloud blocks a receiving satellite. SpaceX operates more than 10,000 Starlink satellites, the world's largest low Earth orbit communications network. Elon Musk plans to test orbital AI computing by the end of 2027 using technology derived largely from Starlink's V3 spacecraft. Musk has called solar-powered orbital data centers a, quote, no-brainer, and recently said SpaceX could fly its first systems next year. Now, the concept remains unproven. SpaceX warned in its IPO filing that orbital data centers may never become commercially viable. Amazon Web Services CEO Matt Garman called the idea pretty far from reality, citing launch capacity and payload costs. Investors, however, remain divided. Deepwater asset managing partner Gene Munster has argued that SpaceX's rockets, satellites, and AI stack create a sovereign AI advantage that competitors cannot easily match. The Future Fund's LLC Gary Black has focused on valuation, saying investors should not pay roughly 150 times projected 2026 EBITDA. Now, really quickly, going back to the models here. I've used ChatGPT, I've used Perplexity, I've used Claude a fair amount, I've used Gemini, but not a whole lot. The one that I've used more than anything else has been Grok. Now, full disclosure and fair point, the reason that Grok is the one that I've used the most is because I got a paid subscription with X Pro, which is really at this point the only way to consume news now, or far and away the best way to consume news. And so I figured, well, I might as well use the model that I'm already paying for, figuring this is the best way to save some money and be as efficient as possible. Well, what happened is they released Grok Build. And Grok Build is unbelievable. It's the whole reason I have a bot developed here. I've had a lot of success with this so far. One of the things that I noticed from Grok Build is that it actually corrects its own mistakes without you having to ask it, which for someone that's a non-developer, really kind of important because it allows me to learn things that I didn't think about and allows me to put out a fairly finished product in a short amount of time. It's also cheaper on a token basis. So I think there's a lot here. I also, because I'm a space nerd, this is just kind of a personal thing. It's not really all that important, but because I'm a space nerd, I love that the AI model that I use is the SpaceX AI. To me, that makes me smile at the end of the day. Anyway, I digress. SpaceX shares recently slipped below their IPO price after reaching a high of $225.64 on June 16th, while short sellers accumulated an estimated $8.7 billion in paper gains, and that was reported by Reuters last week. Dimon's praise follows a major thaw in his relationship with Musk. He called Musk, quote, our Einstein, end quote, in 2025, and later the Edison of our time. Musk recently replied to a viral post reviving the comparison with a very simple, thanks, Jamie. And that's good because sometimes Elon likes to go ham on some of these Twitter posts. It's nice to see him keeping it succinct there and all of that. So, all right. Producer, we are short our guests. Let me see if we're... Oh, and also we have a poll. Thank you, Purdue. Oh my gosh, I'm so glad you reminded me about this. I totally forgot this. We have another poll question here today, and I would very much like you folks to vote. Tesla reports Q2 earnings this week. What do you think will be the most important growth driver for the company ahead? New electric vehicles, full self-driving monthly subscriptions, robo-taxis, or humanoid robots? So let me know what you think on that. Let me know where you think the big revenue is coming from. I haven't voted yet. I will, but I think I would vote for Optimus, although that might be a couple of quarters, maybe even a couple of years in the future. We'll see, though, on Tesla. That's just one of those that is complete and total bleeding edge. All right, well, we're waiting for our guest here. I got one more story to roll through, and this one is going to be why fund managers now fear AI capex more than the conflict in Iran, tariffs, or a recession. So all of the traditional big worries kind of pushed to the back burner as we continue to focus on AI capex. And I would turn this around too. For those of you that think the AI bubble is bursting, are you looking at AI capex? Are you looking at how this is changing? Do you think that this plays a huge role in it? I'm curious to get a little bit more detail on all of that. Excuse me, sorry about that. If you ask institutional investors, the global economy is heading towards a no-landing scenario. Growth remains resilient, inflation fears are receding, and recession risks have nearly disappeared from consensus forecasts. Yet the same investors focus on a less conventional threat, the enormous bill for artificial intelligence. In Bank of America's July Global Fund Manager Survey, 48% of respondents identified AI hyperscaler capital expenditure as the most likely source of a systemic credit event. They ranked it ahead of private credit, consumer credit, and the more familiar macro risks that have dominated markets in recent years, including the Middle East conflict, tariffs, and recession. The paradox is subtle but notable. Fund managers are optimistic about the economy while growing more anxious about the spending cycle that is powering much of that optimism. A record 54% of survey respondents expect a no-landing global economy over the next 12 months, while 39% expect a soft landing. Only 2% forecast a hard landing. Lower oil price forecasts have helped pull down inflation expectations, leaving investors convinced the Federal Reserve can remain on hold rather than resume rate increases. But the AI investment boom is becoming too large to ignore. Goldman Sachs estimates that annualized AI-related spending could exceed $800 billion by the end of 2026, lifting investments in equipment and structures across servers, semiconductors, memory, power infrastructure, and data centers. However, the direct impact to GDP could be modest. Quote, we estimate that AI-related spending will add 3 bips to true GDP growth, but only 1 to measure GDP growth in 2026, end quote. The bank's economist Elsie Pang was the one responsible for that. Equity investors have already begun to challenge the AI narrative. The iShares Semiconductor ETF, or SOXX, has corrected more than 20% from its June peak, meeting the conventional definition of a bear market, even as the broader S&P 500 has remained comparatively steady. For Bank of America survey respondents, it is a meaningful data point, as 82% called long global semiconductors the most crowded trade. The sell-off has exposed fractures within the AI supply chain. Investors are favoring the more tangible parts of the build-out, chips, memory, servers, and data center equipment, while punishing downstream software companies whose AI monetization remains uncertain. International Business Machines, or IBM, or Big Blue, their weak preliminary second quarter results offered a sharp illustration. Its shares plunged after the company acknowledged that it had been slow to adapt to spending, shifting away from software and towards servers and chips. Dell Technologies, ticker DELL, a supplier of AI servers and storage systems, has been viewed as a potential beneficiary of that rotation. The greater risk might now lie in credit. Corporate spreads remain relatively tight despite the correction in semiconductor shares, suggesting bond investors have not yet priced a material deterioration in AI economics. Yet the situation could change as second quarter earnings reports roll in. Alphabet, ticker GOOG, is scheduled to report on July 22nd, followed by Microsoft, ticker MSFT, and Meta Platforms, ticker META, on July 29, and Amazon, ticker AMZN, on July 30th. Investors will scrutinize whether mounting CapEx is generating enough cloud, advertising, software, and AI revenue to justify the investment. If the hyperscalers disappoint or signal that returns on AI infrastructure remain elusive, the consequences may spread beyond technology equities. Since fund managers are light on cash, a repricing event could reach leverage suppliers, data center projects, private credit vehicles, and companies approaching refinancing. So let me know, for those of you that think this is a bubble, let me know. Are you still on that camp? Do you still think that's the case? And I guess perhaps more importantly, what are you doing this earnings season to prepare for that? Are you actually making downside earnings bets as the bubble maybe pops? Or are you kind of waiting to see if it pops and then trail it? You'll have to let me know how you're looking at that. Thinking about it. Good to see you again. Good to have you back. I think you were on vacation, judging by your absence. Hopefully that all went well. All right, folks, I know it's a little bit late here, but it's Tuesday, which means it is a T3 Tuesday, and this means we are about to bring on our T3 guest. It is my pleasure to bring on Sami Abusaad. Sami, how are you today?
I am great. Thank you. Good to be with you.
I actually love the background here because we talk about SpaceX every day, and I just look at that and I just think space, orbital data centers, AI, technology, the future. It just makes me happy because I'm a nerd like that.
I am glad to hear. I am actually short SpaceX.
Perfect. That is a perfect segue. And in fact, that's where we're going to start here. Join Sami's free webinar tomorrow at 4:30 p.m. and learn how trading mentorship can skyrocket your results. QR code is on the screen there. If you folks have been joining this show for a couple of weeks, you know that mentorship is something that we talk about quite a bit here. I'm a huge proponent in learning everything that you can. Literally be a sponge and soak up as much information as you can from those of you that have more experience, because chances are you're going to learn to avoid mistakes by listening to those that have created them. Mentorship, never a bad idea. Sami, it's good to see you again. Thanks for doing stuff like this and making our community better. Now, first of all, do you want to talk about what folks can expect in that free webinar tomorrow?
Yeah, so the free webinar is a preview of an educational experience that I put together a couple times a year, where I take traders under my wing and I teach them every single topic, every single thing that I think is important for their success, and things that I've learned over the course of the last 20 years of being a full-time trader. So it's an amazing experience, and it's free. It's a free webinar, so all are welcome.
I'm a big proponent of free webinars, folks. I think you should definitely sign up for that. Again, the QR code will live in the top right corner there. All right, Sami, let's just get right into it, man. Let's get right into it. Let me go ahead and share my screen here. We're going to start with SpaceX. You had said that you're short SpaceX. This is great. One of the things that we had talked about recently, and I feel like we talked about this, I think maybe with Red Dog last week. We've talked about SpaceX with pretty much every guest I bring on here, as you can probably imagine. So I apologize if I can't place the name correctly. But the big thing that we have been looking for is what happens here around 150. Well, we broke 150 and we continued to march down. We actually went to 135, which was the IPO price. Now we're down here at 122. Little bit of a 2% bounce back here today. What is your plan for your short trade here? And can you talk a little bit about what triggered the entry and where you're looking to take gains?
Yeah, why not? So what triggered the entry is on July 1st, SpaceX tried to bounce. I mean, it tried to bounce 3 days earlier. So it tried to bounce on June 26th, if you can show it on the chart. And then on July 1st, it put in that big wide range red bar. So I already knew that SpaceX was in trouble because it dropped from 225 to 150. So that was too deep of a pullback after just going public. That's way too deep of a pullback. I already knew it was in trouble, but then you wait. And so I waited. It tried to bounce for 3 days and then it got slammed. And so it went sideways another day. And then the day after is when it broke down. So everybody can come on any show and say, oh, I'm short SpaceX from $200. But it's actually, this is in the newsletter. So I sent out an alert in the newsletter, and it's a position that I'm managing for the newsletter right now. Now, in terms of SpaceX management, it is the easiest thing in the world because it has not taken out a prior bars high literally the whole way down. So I'm actually going to trail half if it takes out a prior bars high, which is about 126, 125 something on the daily chart. So that's my plan for managing the SpaceX. But I was so sure about it that I told my subscribers, and I sent out, again, an alert in the newsletter that is tracked to do also the SSPC long, which is the leveraged SpaceX, but to the upside. So it's ticker symbol SSPC from 1215. So we're in it also from 1215. So SpaceX, honestly, I don't like to come on and show off, is a six-figure trade for me. It's like it's the best trade that I've had this year between the SSPC and SpaceX. So that's the trade of the year. That's what you live for as a trader. When I see an opportunity that's amazing, I try to pile in, all in. And then in this case, I got rewarded because it never really shook me out. It kept, the SSPC kept moving up, the SpaceX kept dropping. So I have both.
Okay, so I love a ton of that there. So first of all, what you were talking about here is that the bar here never closed above the previous bar's day high, right? And so that is telling you, that is your signal, stay in the short. There may be some more downside. Obviously, you're killing it there on this, so congratulations. Let me ask you a question. We just got news yesterday, I think it came out yesterday, that they confirmed their earnings for August 4th. My thought for this is, looking at this, my thought was SpaceX is going to see the traditional IPO cycle, especially one that has this much hype around it. It's going to trade up right out of the IPO. That's just how it goes. We've seen this happen with pretty much every hype IPO. It's going to trade up, but then it's going to come back down. Really, the question is, how low does it go and how long does it base for before we really start to get the big up move? That's where our group is trying to actually add this for the long term. So I would ask, number one, although you're short now, is it foreseeable in the future that you'd look to actually add this for a long-term investment because you're impressed with the company at all? That's number one. And then number two, do you have any strong thoughts on earnings? My thought was, first earnings here, this company launches rockets. That's expensive, probably going to miss.
That's a good point. So when the stock is weak, I'm a trader. I don't care, if it's a garbage company, I'll play. I mean, the company is totally garbage. I'll still play it long.
You heard it from him, folks. Sami, I'm sorry to interrupt you, but sometimes we get criticized here for covering some of these junky stocks. And I think to myself, we're traders. It doesn't matter. If we can capture movement, we're going to capture movement. That's how it goes. Thank you for confirming that for us. That's great.
It's the truth. It's the truth. So usually I try to play strong stocks long and weak stocks short. But if I'm interested in playing a weak stock such as SpaceX long, then I like to see capitulation. I like to see basically the stock go climactic to the downside, so I can pick up some shares and play it to the upside. So SpaceX a couple of days ago, it started to accelerate to the downside by gapping down like 4 or 5%. So it started to basically leave that channel that it's been in for the last few weeks. So I can see that, I can see if we get a bounce here, I can see that might be sustainable. But I would like to see SpaceX drop some more and start to print wide range bars. If we get wide range red bars, that's your signal that the panic has set in and that we're likely near a bottom. That's how I do it. When I'm trying to short a strong stock, I always look for acceleration and a parabolic move up, and the same to the downside. I always look, if I'm going to play something weak, I better have a strong signal, such as, again, capitulation, which you can confirm by getting wide range bars, because wide range bars after the stock is down a lot means that people are starting to panic out of it. They're starting to sell way too much, way too quickly, so the stock basically capitulates. And then if there's no more sellers, guess what? only way up. The only way is up.
Right. So you're basically waiting for that moment where the investors are panicking, like you said, and they just want to hit bids. They don't even care about the price anymore. Exactly. They just want to hit bids. They want to be out, and you're trying to capitalize on that. That's fantastic. Okay, Sami, this is a great breakdown here on SpaceX. I think folks got more than they bargained for there. Join Sami's free webinar tomorrow at 4:30 p.m. to learn how trading mentorship can skyrocket your results. You got a nice little preview there on how to look at SpaceX. Let me kind of shift this now. Sami, is there anything else that you're interested in? And let me kind of nudge a specific direction. Some of the most popular trading stocks that our group has been on recently have been some of these memory names. And a lot of these have actually finally pulled back from their unbelievable highs. But we find ourselves, like if we look at Micron right here, we find ourselves right beneath the 50-day moving average. We actually used it as support, broke it. Now we're trying to trade back up to it, back up through it to the upside. I wonder if we're going to get resistance there. This is what Micron looks like. This is what SanDisk looks like. The exact same thing, although we're not even close to the 50-day. And this is what Western Digital looks like, also beneath the 50-day moving average. So do you have any thoughts on how you're playing some of these memory names after this huge meteoric run it made to the upside?
Yeah, just like SpaceX, I actually had a call on MU short, and it reached target about $800. So we covered it 2-3 days ago on the MU short. Now, as far as the bounce back up, I think it's coming. I mean, I think probably we bottomed on Friday. I took SMH, the index long. I think this is probably a time to pick up some shares. There are some symbols that I like a little bit more than MU that really dropped a bit more, like Marvel Technologies. If you check that out on the weekly chart. I mean, compare that drop to Micron.
And look, this came right into the 20-week too.
Exactly. So there are some semis out there that I think look a little bit better than the Micron, but it's the tide that lifts all ships. So you can also do just the SMH. Which is what I'm doing. But yeah, I like these for a bounce. I also like some of the software names. I like Bitcoin. If you look at Bitcoin daily chart, IBIT, starting to bounce. I think we might be, everybody's been bearish on Bitcoin or not interested, not interested in Bitcoin, but it might be secretly, might have bottomed already. The same with MicroStrategy. Everybody was thinking it's going to go to zero. It might have actually already withered the storm, and the worst is behind it. So I like anything Bitcoin related at the moment. I do have a position in IBIT myself, and the newsletter that I manage has a position in SpaceX and IBIT. And again, we just covered MU 2 days ago. We were in it short, but I have a position in SMH long. So I do like the semis long. I do like Bitcoin and anything Bitcoin related long as well.
Okay. Now, because you brought up Bitcoin, I want to remind everybody what we've been kind of talking about here on Bitcoin. I actually think maybe it was the daily here. No, I can't remember exactly what chart it's on. So here we go. It is in fact the monthly. All right. So one of the things that we were looking at with Bitcoin is how well, I guess is the right word, this thing has traded, right? So I've got a monthly chart here for Bitcoin USD. The yellow line is your 50-month moving average. We watched Bitcoin here, made this high. This is about 2017, came back in. Then it had this huge meteoric run, a pullback, setting new highs, and then a big pullback to the actual 50. Now look where this bottomed. This bottomed right here, right near the highs from 2017. So in 2023, we actually held the highs from 2017. We recaptured the 50, went on another run, set multiple highs on the way up. Now we've pulled back to the 50. Well, look where that 50-month moving average lines up with. Yep, pretty close to the highs from 2021, or December of 2021. So to your point about maybe Bitcoin has bottomed here, we actually took a long-term approach, looked at this chart, and came up with a hypothetical area where Bitcoin can bottom. And look, I know, this month is not over, so things can change, but take a look here at this candle. This looks like a pretty healthy bounce from the 50-month moving average here for Bitcoin. So great to hear that you like a lot of those different Bitcoin charts. That's phenomenal.
I agree. Love the analysis. And I think, again, sometimes like when something is overlooked, it starts to secretly bottom, so to speak.
Yep.
Everybody's been all over AI and the semis. That's fine. But Bitcoin is actually holding up really well. So I like it higher.
Yeah, and speaking of SpaceX, I don't know when some of these other AI plays are going to come out, but maybe that draws the attention and SpaceX secretly bottoms. I don't know. I don't know if that's going to happen. Just kind of throwing it out there. Okay, Sami, really good stuff here. Again, really quick, join Sami's free webinar tomorrow, 4:30 p.m. and learn how trading mentorship can skyrocket your results. Your QR code is on the screen there. Just point your camera at it. You'll be able to register for that free webinar. Sami, I'll get you out of here with this. We have the start of tech earnings coming this week. We've got more tech earnings on the back of that next week and the week after. Is there anything that you're kind of waiting for, or would you rather have these earnings prints actually happen and then kind of assess whether or not you're going to trade those companies?
So Ryan, I trade earnings 3 different ways. The day the stock reports earnings, I can day trade it. I trade the gap.
Mm-hmm.
The day before it reports earnings, I scan the daily chart. So I go to FinViz, download the calendar, the earnings calendar, and I go every single company that's reporting, and I look at the chart to see if I want to get in before the company reports. So I have a strategy, and I send out daily alerts with names that I actually trade pre-earnings, and then I day trade them the day of earnings, and then I look to swing trade them after earnings. So I am all about earnings. So I haven't seen anything yet that I liked, but earnings, the floodgates are going to open up because the earnings season is starting to heat up. So I'll be very actively looking for earnings plays, basically.
Okay. Sami, is there anything else that you wanted to cover here? This is absolutely phenomenal today.
I appreciate it. Thank you. Not a whole lot. I think gold and silver will probably bounce soon. It's not that I love the monthly chart of gold and silver, but I think we probably will get a dead cat bounce on gold and silver.
Okay.
That's something that's been ignored the last few months because it's been bearish. But if you look at the monthly, it's good spot on the 20-period moving average on the monthly chart.
Yep.
Yeah, so stuff like this. I'm looking at gaps this morning. Like I like the forward FWRD. I like 3M gapping up. Looks very, very nice to me. I like Calx, CALX short. It's gapping down. So this is what I live for. I day trade, I swing trade, I take long-term positions. Really, I love trading because it gives me the flexibility to do, like, if there's no earnings, then I can do long-term trading. If there's if there's nothing long-term set up, then I can day trade. So there's different styles, and day trading is like the only profession that I feel that no matter what happens, I don't run out of ideas. There's so many different things you can do. As long as you have the versatility and the experience, which I have, you'll never run out of ideas to actually execute. So before coming on, I already put together the gaps list for the room, for the subscribers, sent it out. So now, after I get off this, I'll be on the mic again, brainstorming and going over the gaps list, creating our favorites list, and day trading it right at the open.
Okay, that sounds awesome. Sami, a really great job here. We really appreciate it. I got to be honest with you. You have me looking at this 3M chart now. I knew that they reported earnings here. I didn't really break it down, but boy, oh boy, this sure looks like this is going to try and move above this 170, 171 area, and maybe even go for this high here, 177. This chart looks great. Thanks for putting it on our radar, folks. Just one more time, join Sami's free webinar tomorrow at 4:30 to learn how trading mentorships can skyrocket your results. That QR code is on the screen. Sami, wonderful stuff here again. You are an absolute great guest here. We really appreciate it. Be well, and I can't wait to check up with you in the near future here, okay?
Thank you so much. Appreciate it. Take care.
Sami Abusaad from T3. I keep telling you guys every single week, the T3 guys are amazing. They send us guest after guest after guest that has great ideas, great breakdowns, and then resources to help you folks please take advantage of that. Really, really good traders over there. Okay, really good breakdown. A lot of kind words there. Thank you, Sami. Alerts would be great. Smart guest, great strategy. Love it. Absolutely love it. Okay, shoot, I saw your Google request a little bit late. I should have asked Sami about that. Google, another one of those tech names. Judging by the other trade plans that he gave, I'm certain he probably had one. Oh, I don't have my screen shared here. Sorry about that. Here you go. Here's Google. We'll take a look at this together. Real quick, Lion here, you had said Google is a buy. And then Samel, you were asking about Google here. So they report earnings on July 22nd. So this is tomorrow. So tomorrow after hours is Google's earnings report. It's basically riding the 20 here. In the meantime, I definitely watch for a 100-day break. But if we come into the 200 here and we're a little weak ahead of earnings and this thing puts up a good number, I actually think this could make a pretty good trade as well. Ultimately, Google is in the same position as some of these other tech names, right? Like we broke down from the highs, which it was a real nice run here, right? Like these pullbacks are healthy. We broke down from the highs, but recently we've really been unable to get above the 50. This is one of the things that we're definitely going to look for. So 50-day moving average is what, $15, higher than where we're currently at now. I know the company reports tomorrow, but I would love to see a gap above the 50, maybe take out some of these highs from the middle of July. And when was this? The beginning of July. And then maybe we can make a run towards some of these other highs. In fact, just looking at this, you know what I think is going to end up happening? We might actually test this trend line. Let's go ahead and extend that a little bit. And now that will actually give us a target if we do, in fact, move through the 50-day moving average on earnings. Lion, you said I see 380, 400 possible here for Google. Oops. Possible here for Google. Let's see how that measures here. 380 to 400. Boy, Lion, that is basically right up to the trend line that we just extended. Literally right up to the trend line that we just extended there. So let's see what kind of print this gives. I don't have any position on for the earnings print itself, but we're definitely going to be watching Google. And we're almost certainly going to be trading that. So awesome. Really good breakdown there. Okay. What time is it? We've got 1 minute until 13 shows up here. Then we'll do pre-market pulse. In the meantime, we can probably take a look at another chart before we do that here. Regarding SMAs, isn't the 65 better than the 50? Zach, I'm glad that you mentioned this. I can take care of this question here real quick. I would disagree with that statement. No, for the simple moving averages, and remember the difference between a simple moving average and an exponential moving average is that all data points along the simple moving average have the same weighting. Whereas on an exponential moving average, the data points that are closer to the current day have more weighting than the ones that are further away. So you get different slopes of these curves. When we're looking at a daily, weekly, monthly chart, I would much prefer to use the simple moving averages. I also feel like these are more often used for swing and long-term investors. So I would imagine that these levels are a little bit more concrete. Now, for fast-moving stocks, we often have to use the EMAs. And you hear us talking about the 65 EMA every single day. I do my best to mention that that is actually on a 5-minute chart because I'm trying to remind you that we use the EMAs more when we're talking about intraday charts and fast-moving stocks. Now, the caveat there, and maybe we can get 13 to talk about this, the caveat there is that I'm pretty sure 13 uses some of these EMAs to come up with his crazy levels. Now, I don't know what kind of sorcery 13 has access to or what kind of school he went to learn how to cast some of these spells. Maybe we'll ask him about that. But again, just on the surface here, Zach, to me, it seems that these are two different use cases. More longer term, I'm going to opt to go with simple moving averages. More short term, I'm going to opt to go with exponential moving averages. The one thing I will say here is at the end of the day, if you develop a repeatable system that works for you, I don't think this question even matters. Because if you notice a pattern forming by using a bunch of EMAs and then someone's trying to talk you up about SMAs and you're like, nah, I'm profitable using my system, that's totally fine. Whatever helps you make consistently more profitable trades is the right answer. It doesn't matter what anyone thinks. Me, 13, anyone else, doesn't matter. If you find a way to make repeat profitable trades, you are on the right track. All right, let's do pre-market pulse, not waste any more time. We'll do it right now. Let's say hi to 13. Good morning. Happy Tuesday, dude.
Happy Tuesday to you. Happy Tuesday to everybody. How are we doing this morning?
Man, we're doing real good. We are doing real good here today. We're cruising through the summer. The market hasn't fallen apart. We've got green arrows here. I made a whole bunch of changes to my bot, shipped the changes, and we're ready to go for another day of testing here. So all signs are go. Everything is good.
There you go, folks. Ryan launching sooner than SpaceX. You heard it here.
Whoa. I'll take that. I'll take that as a compliment. Let's go. Okay. What do you want to take a look at first? Anything in particular? Do you want to just knock the movers out? We can do whatever you need to do.
Yeah, we can knock the movers out. It's going to be very similar to yesterday, how there's some on the list, but it's not a very good list. A lot of penny names. The two top ones are, just barely holding on to $1, but they're the only 200% movers we have. Looked at both of them. But I'm not sure about SLGB because that one keeps going back and forth between $1 or under $1 and over $1. So I don't know if it's going to continue to hold up here. But we can start with everyone. I looked at kids. We can start with KIDZ.
Okay, let's do that. So here's kids. We got a 5-minute chart. And by the way, just because of our discussion here, we're using EMAs for this. So just keep that in mind. 13, I don't know if you heard me before you got on here, but I cited you as having some type of sorcerer ability to come up with these crazy levels that seem to get hit from the EMAs. I don't know if this is something that you want to talk about or if we have time, but maybe put it on the back burner there. Zach asked a pretty good question. I'm just trying to add some more detail to it. And to be quite honest with you, I don't really know your secret sauce for coming up with some of these levels. So maybe you want to talk about that a little bit later, but I digress. Sure. As far as kids goes here, looks like we got a flag forming here, right? Big gap up, push to 130. We've pulled back here. We're starting to compress. We actually are above the VWAP here. Stock is higher by 150% here this morning. Kids AI signs a $44.6 million 60-month enterprise AI compute agreement with inference contractor Canopy Wave. So, okay, that actually seems pretty good on the surface, especially for the contract. I mean, they have, $500,000 in revenue. Now they just signed a $44.6 million deal. I'd want to know some more specifics of that. I haven't looked at the PR here itself. Let's take a quick peek at the short interest on this name. 11.74% of the float is shorted with 1 day to cover. And actually, let me take a screenshot of this bugging out short interest thing because I want to get that fixed. Okay. If we go back to the overview chart here, 2 million shares in the float. 13, what do you think here, KIDZ?
I skimmed through the report, the PR here, and it looks like KIDZ is going to be procuring these and then the hardware and then selling the compute to the Canopy Wave. At least that's what I understood from reading this. But so that's going to mean some more revenue here for KIDZ because they certainly need it. Around $500,000 in revenue is what I saw as well. So this Canopy really helps them out here. One thing that I'm a little concerned about though is that this is like pretty much their big contract, their big service contract, and they just went through a couple of reverse splits earlier this year, with the second one being last month. So I'm just kind of wondering, well, is this getting ready to, for a share dilution event? Are they going to raise capital?
Check this out. WIS might have already done some homework for you. Kids, 151 million share offering. Be careful out there. And by the way, 13, we talked about patterns here a number of times. Look at this daily chart on kids.
Yeah, and that's that offering was filed, from what I can tell, on June 29th. So not too long after they did their second reverse split. It was within a month. So yeah, exactly. Thank you. Who put that up there? WIS.
Yep.
It's 151 million share offering that is on the table as of late last month. So that's something I'd be concerned about, and I don't know when they're going to pull the trigger on that, or if they need to. But it certainly seems like they're gearing up to do exactly that. The company, as you said, already has little revenue. It has some cash. looking at their cash position, they're going to need more. That's why we're looking at this offering potentially happening here, and they're not profitable. Aside from this new deal here, so we'll see how this pans out. But that's the real concern is if they're going to raise capital or not. The as far as the chart goes, it's got VWAP as support. It looks like it could be losing that right now. And then if we go under $1, this could continue to fall further. I would have, let's see, if we go under $1, I have 95 and 88 as the next support levels prior to the 65 EMA on the 5-minute chart.
Okay. All right. Really good stuff there. I love our chat community. I say it all the time. Y'all are probably tired of me saying it. Maybe not, but I'm going to do it again. Jay Wild here. First of all, Wiss telling us about the offering, which we already covered. Jay Wild here says, look to the left on kids 180 day. Yeah. We did. That is no bueno. Lion, a man of few words here this morning, just simply saying dilution. And he's not wrong, because this thing is no stranger to dilution. Look at the chart, look at the offering, look at it sitting out there. But Vesh, this is my favorite comment of the morning so far. My God, they're just looting public money by reverse split. And it does feel like that. Don't let them loot your money, right, Bavesh? Don't let them loot that. And Lion enjoy
delusional dilution. Is what it's
delusional dilution. Okay, really good breakdown there on kids. I'm going to avoid this one. Generally speaking, these stocks that have this Z at the end, like Dog Z and Pet Z and Kid Z. Nah, I just am going to avoid it.
Yeah,
okay.
But it does have 2 million shares in the float, so it can be latched onto and pushed around until that that announcement that they're diluting shares happens.
Okay. Now, what else did you have on your list that you told me at the beginning there?
So, of all the movers that are going, I also took a brief look at SLGB, and I thought maybe not, because it had gone back underneath $1 when I looked at it. So I just kind of wrote it down and just put a little note, maybe 1 to 125, and then that's where I left it. And then I also saw UTZ is getting bought out for $14.25 a share in an all cash offer. So there's no trade there.
Okay.
And then I looked at HiHo. We've looked at this one before. And it looks like this is off to a more profitable first quarter it goes.
Well done. Okay. SLGB and HiHo, these are both Hong Kong names. So there's a technical difference there between China and Hong Kong. These are both Hong Kong names. I don't think I trust any of these. Was there a catalyst here on HiHo other than this song? Looks like yesterday in the morning we had earnings. What?
Yeah. So I think, because Hong Kong is one of those countries that, you can report 2 times a year. They just did their Q4 like last week, and then they did their Q1 this week. So I don't know why they chopped it up, but I think it's because, it's 2 different years. But they reported 2 quarters over the course of like inside of a week. So first it was that Q4, which wasn't great, and now this Q1, which is much better. And it apparently returns them to operating profitability. Okay. I could go into this a little bit more. I mean, it's got little revenue, little cash, not profitable. It's got like 2 to 3 quarters worth of cash at their current burn rate. The 65 EMA and VWAP are resistance, with 120. Where are we at right now? 120 as support.
Okay. Good stuff on HiHo. This is another one that I'll avoid. Utz, I got to imagine everyone in here at some point has had an Utz snack. They're getting bought out. No trade there. Good mention. Is there anything else in here that you're interested in? I know Lassie is one that we've talked about before. This is, of course, Laser Photonics. I can't help it, 13. I actually see a pretty decent trend line here.
Sure. We can talk about this one. I didn't cover this one because it was much further down the list. So I didn't know if there was going to be any real enthusiasm or excitement over it, but we can still talk about this one.
Okay, let's do that. I'm basically going to draw these trend lines here, a tad bit broadening, but we'll see here. Let me also check to see if we had any news here. Now, Lassie's holding higher here by 13.6%. I have no news here. The last piece of news was a corporate statement of Form 8 that came out during the session yesterday. Actually, you know what? That might have driven the spike. We probably need to look into that. I haven't done it myself. I'm sorry. We'll do that here in a sec. Quick peek at the short interest on this name. 8.56% of the float shorted. with 1 day to cover. The float on this, 33.27 million. 13, do you have anything on this one?
Aside from that trend line that you drew, it's kind of going sideways. It's been holding up at 65 EMA on the 5-minute, going into the after hours and in the pre-market. We did, briefly dip under it in the pre-market here, but we captured it about 25 minutes later. The 65 EMA for me is going to have to be the bellwether. If we lose that, we could maybe find some support down around somewhere between 115, 120, but I think if we do end up losing that 65 EMA, we're coming down to the 200, maybe even lower. It just looks like it's kind of running out of steam. But I think for now, I would just say, let's see what we get after the open, because it is kind of going sideways. It looks like if we do get that support from the 65 EMA, it's going to go and try to get back above the VWAP again. But I think I'd want to see what we get out of the open here. As far as that Form 8, you said it looks like there was a material definitive agreement that was signed regarding warrants. So, yeah, I think that's what it is, and you'd have to run it through AI because there's a lot to go through here.
Yeah, and you know what? I actually did. I tried to link that, but let me see if I can do. Let me see if I can do it this way. See if I can get you something here.
Only buy a yellow stake under 1 for LASE. Well, you had your opportunity yesterday, and I guess that paid off, because here it is. It went YOLO all the way up to 143, and after you said "I love you," this started coming back in, and it looks like if it does lose that 65 EMA and goes on to lose a 200, you might get another opportunity.
All right, here we go. So really quickly, the bottom line here, this filing is a small equity financing / warrant reset. Laser Photonics got about 2.5 million in cash, but at the cost of extra dilution and more warrants outstanding. So the company entered into a warrant inducement deal on July 16th. In plain English, holders of the warrants agreed to exercise them for cash, and Laser Photonics gave them new warrants as an extra incentive. Existing Series A5 and A6 warrant holders agreed to exercise warrants for up to 2.5 million shares at 97.5 cents per share. In return, the company issued new Series A7 and Series A8 warrants covering up to 5 million shares total. The company says it expects to receive gross proceeds of $2.46 million for the transaction. So it's a small equity raise with a little bit of dilution.
And a little bit of time. They got
a little bit of time rolled on to the end. That's exactly it. Thank you, AI, for helping us make sense of that SEC form.
Yeah, that's excellent. And I also drew an underside trend line. I started with that low just before that we had that pop into the close yesterday. Mm-hmm. I started there and drew it at the low through the low of 445, the low of the after the open of the market, and it kind of just gotcha. has us getting support all the way up through that drop beneath the 65 EMA and the recapture. So now I want to think, as in addition to that 65 EMA being lost, we lose this trend line. This gives us another level to watch for a back test before going lower.
Okay. All right. Awesome. And guess what? You've totally ruined Cam's day here, because now he has the hi ho, off to work we go song stuck in his head. And guess what, Cam? No offense, but that's going to be there all day. So GG, no re. Okay. I think we're done with the
Kids is recapturing its VWAP. Sorry to interrupt you, but it's starting to get a little bit of volume expansion here. We'll see if this has any strength leading into the open.
Staying in that flag.
It's trying to stay relevant here. But this did have a pop over VWAP earlier, and then we had a nasty candle afterwards. So this could be the way it's going to look potentially before we get into the regular session. So just something that was getting a little exciting there, because a recapture of VWAP, I think, would draw more buyers into this for a trade.
Okay. All right. Good stuff there on kids. That should do it for the movers. Happy to go to anything else that you folks want, but I think we should move over to the chart tool and then take some tickers here.
Let's do it.
Yeah, go ahead.
All right, so let's do it.
Okay. So any tickers that you folks want out there? 13, I imagine you're open to pretty much anything the group wants here. We talked about Google last, if you want to give your opinion there, but I actually would love to run to the washroom. So if we could bring up a chart here that you can actually break down, that'd be fantastic. Looks like IREN was mentioned in the chat. CRNT was mentioned, but I think that this is a small price junker name. Hey, you know what, though? This actually trades not that bad. IWM and Hood. All right, let's start with Hood, Ed. We'll go to the IWM as well. I know that you trade that every day. Here's what the Hood chart looks like. This is basically right at the 200. 13, is this an okay spot to start off with? Okay, perfect. I'll be right back, buddy.
All right. So I'm just looking through the news real quick here to see if there's anything relevant to some movement here today. Looks like there is in the newsfeed that I have. It's a price target by Needham. Was they maintained a buy and they raised it to 123, and that still gives us about $20 of premium. So there you are, and this has been moving pretty nicely off of what looks like it looked I think to us like a bit of a reversal pattern here, kind of a skewed inverse head and shoulders, but very much seeing a lot of the price action that goes along with it. We did have a breakout over 90. I guess maybe the breakout level is a little bit closer to 90, but 95 looks like the spot where the price really started to accelerate to the upside. When we came back in, 95 was the support area. Now it looks like this is starting to weaken here as the price over the past 3 or 4 days has started to retreat from the 120 area. And now we've lost the 200-day SMA, and we've been trying to recapture it. We actually opened above it yesterday and still ended up closing beneath it. So that if we do this one more time, like if we repeat a similar pattern here today, where we open above it and then close beneath it, that may lead to some further downside. Fortunately, you do have that 50-day SMA and that $95 area where we had a breakout previously and back tested previously as support. That's going to be an area of support. I don't think I would guarantee that that's going to hold up or cause any reversal. It's looking like Robinhood still could go back and forth before ultimately heading lower. But very, very standout spot of support, that 94, 95 area. This is that $95 area in general. Looks like it has pretty good support, and the 50-day SMA is also coming up right there in that area to support it as well. Now, the one thing that also stands out to me is if we do manage to hold above that 200-day SMA, we have an imminent golden cross that's going to occur in probably about maybe 2 weeks if we kind of stay around this price. If we reverse here and really start to recapture some levels in like the 20-day SMA, 110, 120, that golden cross could happen sooner. But get a golden cross if we can hold above the 200-day SMA and go higher. Probably won't get it if we start to lose the 200-day SMA and the 50. So
okay,
that's what I see from here.
All right, really good stuff there on Hood. Well done. Let's see, what else do we want to? Oh, IWM. Yep, I told Ed we were going to take a look at the IWM. Let's do that. Okay, IWM here actually looks a little bit better than some of the other indices, at least from the daily chart at a glance here. We're still above the 50, but we're compressed between this 50 and this 20-day. Really would like to get above that 20-day at 296.5. It sure seems like that to me. What do you think here, 13?
It's having a hard time recapturing that 20-day SMA. Ever since we came down here after kind of riding up that moving average for about a month. Now it's struggling to stay above it, and that's concerning because if we can't and we start to go back in lower, then we're going to be looking at the 50-day SMA, which we haven't traded underneath that since April. So if we snap the 50, I think that would be an indication that we're going to come back in much more. And if that happens, then I would be looking at the 288 level. 288, 280, and 270 as the next downward support areas prior to the 200-day SMA. Now, I know that we've been still in a bit of a downtrend since the highs from the start of the month. How down are we from there? Actually, it looks like we've pulled back as much as 3.6%. but we're still only down about 3%. So still experiencing a bit of a pullback. We could pull back further, in my opinion.
Okay. All right. Good stuff there on IWM. I think that 50-day, I think you're right. First of all those levels that you listed right beneath it, very, very clear to find off of the chart. And I think if we break those, you can start looking at some of them. I did notice that one of you in the chat is mentioning VIVK, Vivicor. This is one of our, this has been a mover before. This is going absolutely buck right now. If we take a look at the chart, this is what it looks like. So this impulse move basically took us to the same area. That this was after a split, I think. I can't remember exactly what happened here. I have to go back and look. That looks like that was July 15th. Let's see what's going on here today. We did get a PR here this morning. Vivicor expands physical crude oil marketing platform to cover $700 million with 4 new recurring commercial transactions. Furthermore, with 2 unnamed clients worth combined $289 million annually. So it looks like a $709 million annualized commercial activity. That's what's driving the stock higher here. We are trading up, but this is a big rip for this. I'm going to try refreshing my platform. I'm not sure what happened to my price here. Vivicor, though, 410, again, pretty much right at the same area that was at before. And before I flip away here, it was a stock split. They did a 1-for-20 stock split. They sold off after that split, and today we're basically right back to that same level. So that's what's going on here with Vivicor. 13, do you have anything on this one by chance?
So this new float read is the updated float now, or did they reverse split from sub 1 million and now they're even a smaller amount?
Pro tip for that, you should be able to determine that by looking at the short interest tab. So it looks like as of the last short interest, which was July 10th, we had a reading here of 8.09 million. Now we have a reading here of 614,000. I got to think this is after the split now because this data pull came from Morningstar after that split. I think that's a pretty safe bet.
Okay, so then the next thing that I would be looking for is now that they've reverse split, what's their cash position? Because this is, there's a whole, series of steps that certain companies will take if they're going to, raise capital, and these small names that, that reverse split don't have revenue or have very low amounts of revenue. They tend to do a reverse split and then dilute their shares. I'm wondering if that's what could happen next, if they're going to do some kind of capital raise. They have very little cash, almost no cash. So that's kind of why I'm wondering that. But this has a very, very small float now. So this is going to probably get taken for a ride. And if that's the case, we can go to the chart and point out some or figure out some levels. We are really just kind of firing past all the price action we had over the past week. And now we are in a gap fill back from, what is this, 2022? So we're gap filling right now.
Okay. What is that? What is the top of that gap fill at?
Oh boy, let's see here. It looks like it's going to be about 843. It's like 843.
Okay, so there's actually still some room if that gap fill continues.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, Robert here. So a couple of things on this one. First of all, Robert mentioning Vivek has been a turd since he came on the show. So it's very interesting there with Vivek. One of the other things here is that I don't know if you remember here 13, and maybe you remember more of the details than I can possibly remember right now, but we used to talk, one of our guys on Happy Hour, Andy, knows, I guess, the CEO or had talked to the CEO at some point in the past. And it talked about this kind of being one of those companies that just changes what it does depending on what's going on. AI here says it's a small energy infrastructure and environment services company. Its business mix is transportation and logistics like crude oil and producing water trucking plus related terminaling services. Environmental remediation. It looks like an oil logistics plus remediation stock. So that's what we have right here. So take that with a grain of salt. Vivek, big pop here.
The storage services of crude is probably going to be the most interesting part because we are able to we're in a crude glut, but it's the refinement that's the real problem. Yeah. So that's kind of the more interesting side of this is that they're probably storing a lot of refined oil, and because we have a lot of it, but it's we have such a diminished global capacity for refinement that that's the real bottleneck there. So this is kind of interesting because we are still pulling more oil out of the ground and out of rocks. So I think this could be interesting on that aspect. But
Odie, thanks for mentioning this. I know that PR had kind of come recently, and so we were able to take a look at that in near real time. That was a really good mention. Appreciate that. All right, let's see. How much time do we have? 4 more minutes. I think that's time for another one. Mark here is asking how lower after earnings. Oh, you know what I think? 13, I'm going to have you go over this chart, but in the meantime, you know what this means. You know what this means, folks. You're asking if it's going to go lower after earnings. That is a perfect question for Mr. 8-Ball. Let's see what we get here, Mark. Will Hal go lower after earnings, which is it was released before the market opened here today? The answer is, oh my God, the bubbles. I can't read it.
I mean, it looks like it already is going lower.
It says, difficult to see, try again. So 8-Ball not helping us out at all there. Here's Hal. Looks like it's holding the 200. What do you think here?
Yeah, it looks like this is, trying to go lower here. It certainly is lower relative to yesterday's close. So I would say, yeah, it's down. We are currently trading just slightly underneath the 200-day SMA. So it'll be interesting to see what happens as we get to the open here. But if we do sell or see some kind of selling, it's already been beaten down quite a bit, and the RSI is still pretty low. So it doesn't seem like there's going to be a whole lot more downside if there is any. You know what I'm saying? So I think that if we do see some selling, we will see a further drop in RSI. But if we get underneath 30, that could be an indication that the bottom's very close or starting to get put in.
Okay, so I'm sorry, I can't break 30, 13. That's the best Hal voice that I can do. Okay, we are less than 2 minutes till we open here. Let me flip over to the main workspace. We can kind of take a look at some of the movers and how they're setting up ahead of the open. Oh, and then you were asking, Luis, you were asking about the MBIS news here today. Here's what MBIS looks like. We covered that a bit in the A block. This actually looks like maybe this will try and break 197 and go higher here. Stock's up by 5.7%. And the news here was that NVIDIA reported a 9.3% passive stake as of July 13th. We got that news in the after hours yesterday. That's what's driving NBIS here today. As far as the actual stake itself, they currently believe in this as one of the European hyperscalers, right? This is from the Netherlands. Seems pretty good. I don't have much more for you on the stake itself, though. Tesla, let's see what that's doing ahead of the open. Okay, that pulled back from the pre-market highs, but held yesterday's intraday low, which was right near the close. CRNT, this is one that one of you folks asked about. This is one of the junky movers. This went up to 250, actually broke its VWAP and is coming back in now. Let's see what the news was on this. $70 million agreement from a wireless connectivity solutions provider. So $70 million agreement is what's driving CRNT. This is basically right back to the level it was at Wednesday of last week.
All right. We are 15 seconds away.
Okay, perfect. We're about to open here. Really good stuff. I'll keep you posted on what the bot's doing. We're paper trading here today, so none of the trades that I announced from the bot are real. We're testing it for proof of concept. All right, we are open, folks. S&P opens up higher by 0.55%. See if that pulls here. Indeed, it is showtime, EKS.
Showtime.
S&P first move here is higher. That went up to 746.5 and pretty much stopped there. Vivek continued, 550 handle now.
LASE, right? It dropped right out of that trend line on the underside, and it is going right to those support levels, including just shy of the 200 EMA on the 5-minute. So we're looking for support here for LASE now. And if we get it, then I would be watching for a back test of that trend line that it just lost. And if it gets it, we need to we need to see this recover that in VWAP. Otherwise, I think we could continue lower.
Vivek looks like it was traded right up to 652. Actually looked like it was going to halt there, but they yanked it off that spot. 652, your intraday high there on Vivek, VIVK. That thing is all over the place. LASE, that's right back to that 114. That is going to be your 200 EMA on the 5-minute. 3M, this is one of the ones that Sami talked about. Look at that opening candle right through the pre-market highs, 3M to the highs. By the way, I did add this to the fair value gap list. So this is part of the universe that the bot's going to try and trade here today.
This is one that I talked a lot about wanting to get, and I never ended up doing it because it started to go, when I wasn't paying attention. And this was like back when we were talking about this around 85, when it was bottoming. Back in 2024 and 2023, and I just never took a shot at it. This thing doing fantastic now, coming up to the highs from 2021, and coming up to resistance as well. It looks like 180 could be a tough spot for 3M as far as resistance goes.
Yeah, 177 and change is going to be that recent high. I don't know how recent it is. It's from February of this year, but this one having a real nice day here. Vivek, by the way, went to 693, so that continued to push up. Stock is wild here. Good volume,
super low float. Latch on, take it for a ride. That's what Vivek is today. Everything else is getting hammered. LASE. Now it's through the 200 EMA. Hi-ho, this isn't really doing anything yet. The kids are not all right. This is coming down to its 65 EMA. It's currently looking for support around 88, one of the spots we talked about.
Really quickly, I just have to ask, did you get that from one of those commercials that has the song playing and it said, and the kids are all right?
No.
Okay, that's the commercial that's making the loops right now. And as soon as you said that, I was like, oh my, that's what that's from. But I'm wrong. By the way, a SPY. So we talked about that initial move higher here. That actually, so this is interesting. So the push on SPY went to about 646.75-ish. But if you look at the S&P futures chart, that actually pushed right up to the resistance one pivot and backed off. Now it looks like we're going to test VWAP on the S&P futures. We broke VWAP on the SPY. We'll see if this maybe settles at 745. Might be your next level there.
745, that's what the month opened with. Exactly, 745.
Okay.
So that's going to be a key support and resistance area. We want to see this July seasonality that we've been talking about. We need to get back above that and go much higher. So, yeah.
We'll take this here. We'll celebrate wins early here. Kathy saying, Vivek made my morning. Not sure who flagged it, but thanks. Bang. Kathy, way to trade one of the junkers to the upside there. That thing 718 now is your intraday high. What a rip on Vivek. Odie, good mention.
This is still climbing. It's that low float. It's really all I can really attribute this to. Mostly, it got some attention from that reverse split or whatever news it had, but these low floats, man, it's just been a theme. Lately, it's just when they have a very, very low float, usually around 1 million or even less than that, and hundreds of thousands, you'll see these things taken for a ride. Just be careful. Have your stops ready. You don't want to get hurt on these.
Okay, real quick check-in here on SpaceX, which was higher here in the pre-market, now pulling back down to the lows from yesterday. Let's see if we snap 120.
Yeah, I think this was also they delayed the flight 13 or test flight 13 further. Let me get a date for you here, just to bear with me. But that was, I think that's what the news was that I saw.
Okay, SPY is bouncing back. It is battling with VWAP as we speak right now. We'll see what we get here for SPY. Mo, that's okay. There will be another one. If you were thinking about buying it at 244 and the stock is in a 7 or a 6 handle, probably best not to chase that. I think that's a smart move. Good morning, Andrew. It's great to see you. Welcome. Hopefully you're having a great day here.
Looks like July 23rd is the next estimated time to launch. They're planning on road closures all day on July 22nd. So that's going to be where they roll it out and start stacking. And it looks like they're also going to have a delay on the actual day of the launch too. So that stacking may occur the day of the launch as well. I guess we'll have to stay tuned. But that takes us to the near the end of the week. That's Thursday now that they're planning for a launch with Starship.
Spy through the VWAP here. Anne Marie says, remember to look at the 1 minute candle to see if we enter that price. What is that price again, Anne Marie? We did end up pushing above. This is what the 1 minute candles look like here on Spy. We did push up towards 146.5 again. Didn't quite get there though. And
when it comes to SpaceX, the 120 price is an interesting spot because that's exactly 20% down from the opening price. So I think that's kind of why you're seeing a little bit of support start to kick in right now. People looking at this and going, oh, okay, well, this is, we're about where I want to start buying it for the long term. I think we had some viewers here. We're looking at like around 115, and we came within $5 of that yesterday. So I think you could start to see some buyers try to step in, but I don't think that it's quite the time yet because there are still significant amounts of events that's going to alter the markets or the share structure. You have a 20% of the shares becoming unlocked and ready to be sold around the Q2 earnings, which is now confirmed for August 4th. And then you have these 7% tranches that are going to be released every 15 to 20 days until the Q3 earnings. So a lot of shares going to be unlocked between now and pretty much the remainder of the year. Not to mention that there is going to be a share dilution event to pay for the acquisition of was it any sphere, whatever the parent company to Cursor AI is.
Yeah, real quick here. Anne-Marie says, remember to look at the 1 minute. The low of the Spy of the 1 minute candle is the entering that price that you were referring to. How they battle through that 1 minute range gives us where the big players are battling. So far, it looks like a fight, right? Still looking very choppy, at least so far. And that would confirm the fact that although we are in the trade window 1 here for the 0 DTE, we haven't taken any. The chop here has not provided a setup.
Looks like I'm just keeping an eye on some of these moves we looked at. Looks like Kids is trying to get support from the 65 EMA. That's holding up for now, but it's still struggling with VWAP. VWAP's actually resistance at the moment. Hi-Ho, this dropped beneath a lot of its EMAs, but not the 200 EMA on the 5 minute yet. Now it's trying to turn around and recapture all of those. Volume doesn't look great right now, but still keeping an eye on it in case that starts to expand. I have VWAP at 148.
Okay.
And then LASE, this also lower after snapping that trend line and coming down to the 200 EMA. I'm not sure how great this one's going to be. It's already hitting some of our support levels. If it does turn around, we're going to have resistance at about I would say 120 and 125. And then Vivek doesn't seem like it's quite finished yet. Trying to get some support up here, still above VWAP. So that's something I'd be keeping an eye on. Also, keep an eye on that 575 level. That looks like it's serving as a bit of a support level for the time being.
Okay. Really quick, the bot did take entry on the 746 call here. Looks like it entered that at 131. I'll keep you updated. Remember, all of the bots trades today are paper trades as we monitor how that's doing.
All right, looks like I'm just still seeing some movement in Vivek here. A new candle now. Let's see if we come back a little bit lower and get some support around that 575 area. If we hold above VWAP, maybe the next candle or the one after it, we could see another attempt to push higher.
Okay, and so that first scalp there was actually a stop out to the lows as the SPY rolled over. Well, let me show that here on the chart. Looks like the reason for that getting stopped out was a loss of the 9 EMA. So it moved beneath that. That's part of the rules for the 0 DTEs. That ended up stopping us out 0 for 1 on the bot's first trade here today. Okay, at least it's working. At least it's working. Lion says he doesn't trust it. No surprise there, Lion. And I don't know if I've heard you trust anything other than your own opinion in all the time that I've known you.
All right, looks like we're getting another move here with Vivek. All right. Pushing
747, that high. Let me put it on screen here, 13.
And it's funny, hit that price because it was flying. So let's see if this is going to push back up to that 750, toward that 750 area, or if we're going to run into resistance right about 7, like it's doing right now. We hit the high of hit a high of 693. So still needs a little bit more time on this. I was looking for the next, maybe the next candle or the one after that might actually finally give us the direction it's going to head. You know, yes, I just use the VWAP that you know this comes with the broker or whatever is used, you know, for indicators. That I don't have any special VWAP. It's just whatever's provided when I turn the indicator on, and it's always going to be the same VWAP across the intraday timeframes. But I don't have a VWAP on my my daily or larger time frame charts.
Ryan says that's not true. I trust you, Ryan, just not your bot. Okay, fair enough. We'll take that there. And then EKS is asking you, 13, what time period do you use?
I just talked about that.
I'm sorry. Thank you for answering it.
Mm-hmm.
Vivek, looks like 747 was the high print. It does look like it's trying to hold up here, about 650-ish.
Yeah, it looks like it's trying to get a direction chosen here. We did get that that 575 support to hold up. So this is why it's looking pretty interesting here. A little bit sooner than I thought we were going to get, but we still have to break that 747 high, and we might still need another candle in order to go higher here. But we're getting we're still getting the attention. It's getting the volume, so we'll see if it pushes back up towards that 747 area.
Go ahead. Sorry.
No, I'm done.
Kinjalia saying, Ryan, would you be kind enough to share your theory of box trading? If you can, it will be appreciated. Kinjalia, I don't have any idea what you're talking about. I'm sorry. Perhaps remind me. Hope you took profit on kids, says Wiss. That tells me that something bad happened here. And look at that. Big rollover.
Yeah. And, you know, we talked about all the different ways it could go and the resistance to watch for, and just couldn't get back above VWAP, and that's why we're lower now. We lost the 65 EMA now. 200 is going to be next. Let's see. Do we have support prior to that? I mean, we might be at support now. If we're looking at some of these prior levels from earlier this month. So we'll see if we get support down. Like if not here, we're at now, then maybe closer to 60 cents, 65 cents.
Okay. Thank you, Kinjalia, for clearing this up for me. And Ray Gruel, I guess I should have been able to figure this one out, huh? You meant my theory on bot trading, if you can. So I do. I can talk about that here real quick. Number one, when I'm doing this show, is maybe it's just because I'm not that good. It is extremely difficult for me to focus on the show itself and then also being very tactical with short term trades. I mean, these 0 DTE trades are obviously intraday. They are oftentimes scalps. So what I'm trying to do is, because the rules for this trading system are really fleshed out, what I'm trying to do is get the bot to do it for me for two reasons. Number one, I can focus on what you and I are doing here, or 13 and I and the group are doing here. But on top of that, by mechanizing this, I'm taking the emotion completely out of it. Right. So I am just having the computer do the trades for me. The hope here is that the strategy is fleshed out enough where it's going to end up making profit over the long run, and it should be able to do it while I'm not here. Now, a further down the road goal, would love to be able to turn my computer on, hit a big button that says go, have it start trading for me, and then make my way to the first T box. That would be a good way to live out the rest of my life, but we'll see if that's even feasible.
We had a question here about where do we see Nokia and NOK going, and they have earnings in a couple of days. This has been coming down over the past couple of months after just kind of ripping right through 15, going as high as 17 and 45 cents. Coming back in, I still, maintain this is going to be one of the companies that's working on the 6G, infrastructure build out. They're partnering with, NVIDIA and Dell and a whole bunch of and Cisco and a whole bunch of other companies to develop and roll out 6G infrastructure. So that's where the future is for Nokia. Right now, this coming back in, I can see this maybe even coming in even further and getting support or in the 8 handle. I would think somewhere around 850. If I'm looking at a monthly chart and I look to the left here, this is got some pretty good support in that 8 handle, and I wouldn't be surprised if that's where this comes down to. Certainly, it could find some support earlier than that, but I think that and there's a 200-day SMA that's just underneath 9, like at 898. So it could find support there as well, but I think this may still have a little bit more, potentially more downside to go. But if it's reversing now, fine. But I still think it could stand to come in a bit more ahead of their earnings.
Okay. All right, good stuff there on Nokia. VIVK, that is up now 304%. That is right back to 715. That thing has no chill here today. VIVK.
It's either this candle or the next one, and I was waiting for to see if we're going to get that move that takes us higher. Now we did get 1 penny higher from that last candle, 748, but we need to see some better volume here. It's looking like let's see, about 2.5 minutes left. So yeah, I would want to see some better volume than this. It's going to take us over these sellers in the 150s, because there's some sellers that are starting to stack up now. We need to see some bigger volume here. There we go.
There it is. Literally 798, your high print there, just shy of 8.
Still not enough volume. Need more.
And then real quick, so I'll come back here to VIVK. This is very clearly one of our runners here today. SpaceX, we talked about this pulling. Look, it could not break 120 again. Didn't even really test it here. Now it's reversed here. It looks like 124. One of the other levels that we'd really want to get above here, probably 124.85, and then maybe 126 on SpaceX.
Yeah, and I feel like this could climb, maybe even back up to the IPO price. I don't know that it's going to, and maybe it could even go a little bit higher than that, but I don't know that we're going to necessarily be in recovery mode with SpaceX quite yet. And I explained earlier about why that is, with all these shares being unlocked, the potential share dilution coming up later to pay for Cursor AI. I don't think it's the time right now. Certainly trade this thing, and even use one of the ETF trading vehicles that they have out there for this. But I don't think in my personal opinion, I don't think it's quite time to say, yeah, the bottom is certainly in, and this thing's going only up from here. I'm not convinced that we're there yet.
Okay, yeah, I'm not convinced that we're done with the down move yet either. This just feels like a defensive bounce off that off that 120 area or near that 120 area.
Not much trading for me today. I only had one trade, and it was in Vivek. I did do Vivek, just one trade in the last candle, but that's all. That's all I've had today.
Yeah, don't have a whole bunch. Obviously, the bot trading here, 0 for 1 on a SPY scalp. We'll see if this ends up firming up here and giving us any more signals. We are still in the trade 1 window that ends here in less than a minute.
Dara's saying some group trying to push Vivek to 10. I wouldn't be surprised if that's the case.
I was going to say that doesn't really surprise me either, given its trading history.
Now let's see here. Where maybe it's time to look at dumb levels. Okay, 10 does actually stand out as a resistance level, so I guess I shouldn't be surprised about that. I could see that happening. I don't know if it will. I mean, we're pushing right now. Let's see if we can get through the most recent highs we just put in. What was it? The almost $8 high. It's still pushing up.
It sure is.
But if we're going to look for dumb levels, I don't think it's going to. A dumb level could be 34 to 35. I don't know that it's going to get up there. I don't want to say it's impossible, because we've seen this crazy stuff happen this year already. But that would be one of my dumb levels. Let's see if there's anything else that I see here.
Let's see how SanDisk is doing here today. SNDK. This is moving higher.
Not necessarily a dumb level, but if we do get beyond 10, 1230 is going to be resistance. I think maybe I might just leave it at that for now because I don't know, what we're going to get out of Vivek. Yeah, I think that's what I would leave it for now. If we do get to through 10, 1230 is potentially on the table, with 34 to 35 being just ridiculous, prints if this gets taken for a ride like it could.
Something interesting here. GLW, which is Corning, we just had a put sweep here. The 140 puts that expire August of this year. Traders swept up 500 of those, spent $455,000 on that trade. What's interesting is that encompasses the earnings print that is scheduled for 7 days from today, Tuesday, July 28th, before the market opens. So it looks to my eye here from that option trade is that we had an unusual bearish bet on GLW that encompasses its earnings print.
Just had a pop higher in Vivek, broke through that 8 resistance. Volume still is not great, and this has it looks like it's got about a 10 to 15 cent spread as this trades. So be very careful with this. It's not a lot of volume, and it's just kind of whipping around because there's so many gaps in the price action. So just keep that in mind if you're going to trade this. That this
micro float too.
Yeah, this could just come right back down to view up and go right through it. Make sure you have a stop ready for something like this.
Wiss here saying the market maker could tell me it's going to 100 and I still wouldn't touch it. I hate Vivek. Tell us how you really feel, Wiss. I'm with you there. Here's the thing. Like when I get spurned on one of these real bad, I tend to just avoid it. So Wiss, I completely understand where you're coming from. Just watching this thing's up 400% now. Oh my gosh.
And it could go to 1,000%. We say this all the time. I mean, these low float movers, when they get latched onto, you just got to look at some of these technical levels for where they could go to. There's no guarantee that they'll reach them, but you just kind of have to know where the roadmap could potentially go. This because we don't have enough gas in the tank doesn't mean that a tow truck couldn't come by and just carry this thing all the way across the finish line. Here we are in the 8 handle now. 867 is the current high. Raise your stops, I guess. That's the way I'd be playing this. All right. What else is having fun with the market moving? Looks like we're still. So one of the names that we were talking about yesterday that ended up doing really well was Archer. We finally got a move through 5 that held, and that went on to capture 520, the level that I was barking about. And now we're still above it. We've been holding sideways all through the after hours and the pre-market. We're still holding that 120 level despite coming down close to test it around 525. So really nice price action there with Archer.
Yeah, this actually had a couple of fair value gaps yesterday as well. By the way, Captain Cloudy, dude. Who needs a bot when you have Captain Cloudy? Captain Cloudy says, I bought the dip in SPY. He actually bought this dip when we were right down near the intraday lows. Now, we pushed back up to the 9 EMA. We've not been able to get above VWAP yet. We'll see if we're able to clear that. But that entry actually didn't look too bad.
You want to see kids get back up? It's got to get back above that 65 EMA. That's been the problem right now, and it's continuing to get pressure from the VWAP. It does look like it might be trying to put in a bottom here, but we need to start seeing some reversal.
And then as a reminder here from our wonderful producer, please vote in our poll. We really appreciate the votes. I'm going to do it the same thing here. There we go.
You're right, Joe. Tomorrow is a big day for earnings. We do have 2 of the Mag 7 reporting, and then we have 4 more next week.
By the way, you're reminding me, here's your earnings calendar for this week, folks. So this is what the earnings look like. Now, pay attention to tomorrow. 13 was just kind of alluding this. Pay attention to tomorrow. Google, Tesla, Texas Instruments, IBM, Southwest. Looks like Honeywell is on there too, if my eyes don't deceive me. So tomorrow afternoon, going to be a big day. We get Intel on Thursday in the after hours as well.
And I think next week's going to be potentially even bigger because you have 4 of the Mag 7 reporting. You have 2 of the most major economic reports that the Fed looks at, PCE and GDP. And speaking of the Fed, you also have an FOMC rate decision. All next week. Big things are coming. Big things.
Yeah.
You remember that movie?
No.
Big things are coming. Big things.
Yeah, this sounds so familiar.
Help them out, chat. Hey, congratulations, Lion. Good, that's a good day.
Here, register ring for that. What was the entry trigger on WDC, by the way? By the way, Lamb Research, just saw this come across the wire here. $1.37 million. Let's see, though. Yeah, so this looks to be an upside bet. 7/31 is your expiry, so the end of July. They bought the 3/30 call. They bought 683 contracts, spent 1.37 million. Ticker LRCX, Lamb Research. This was actually higher in the pre-market, but has sold off since the open.
I think this was one. Yes, this is one of the companies that is researching molybdenum disulfide. So as we look for new materials to for manufacturing semiconductors and kind of move away from silicon because they have all these physical constraints when you get down to the molecular level when it comes to building transistors. This is one of the companies that's going to be at the forefront of researching these new materials. So very, very important company. Could be a good buy on weakness.
Marvell puts coming across the wire here. This is one Sami talked about. This popped in the pre-market here, but really hasn't done much today. Very much like the market, to be honest.
Then there was a mention that ASTS is up today, 7%. This is having a really good morning. This kind of straight up out of the gate here.
Excuse me, sorry.
No problem. And it may also be experiencing a bit of a short squeeze because of the elevated short interest. It's 2.5 days to cover, but 21.73% of the float is shorted. And let's look and see what the chart is showing us. Kind of in a gap fill, or at the edge of a gap fill right now in ASTS. If we do gap fill, that takes us up to about 66. What is this? 66.31. So that's something that could potentially happen here, if not just today, maybe tomorrow as well. But it is up at a gap looking to fill right now on the daily chart.
And really quick, someone, you were asking about why would you design a bot here? Well, because the bot is exercising patience right now. I'm sitting here, I'm looking at this market pull back in towards 744.5 and hold it. We're still beneath the VWAP. To me, like my gut is like, yeah, we might actually trade up here, but it's not meeting any of my rules. So my propensity to want to trade, according to the system here, is I should be being patient. The bot's having no trouble being patient. I'm sitting here with an itchy trigger finger trying to enter a trade. So another reason why I'm trying to do this, just stick to the plan. SPY, by the way, trading back up to VWAP. Let's see what it does here at the VWAP. We are testing it right now. S&P futures did move through the VWAP, so that's a good sign. And our 5-minute trend is now bullish.
Libertas, my understanding is that's more of a substrate, not necessarily wafers. Diamond wafers would, in my mind, that'd be very, very difficult to work with. But the diamond, aspect, that's part of the packaging, is what my understanding is. Not necessarily the transistors themselves. So I certainly think that it's something that we should all be focused on and paying attention to if we're in the semiconductor space. But I don't think we're looking at diamond wafers. I think that's more of a packaging substrate.
Okay, this is perfect. My study in TOS threw an entry signal. The bot entered right where it was supposed to. bought the 745 call, paid 169 on that. So we are in trade number 2 here on this SPY move higher. Jabroni says, on a different note, I haven't been on in a while, but Ryan, looks like you lost some weight. Well, that's really good to hear. Indeed, I did. I am really doing a lot more exercising now to try and take hold of my body and the shape that I'm in, and I love that you have recognized that. So I appreciate you.
He's not eating. I'm just kidding.
Actually, that's been part of it. From what I understand, in shape bodies are built in the kitchen. A lot of people forget about that. So had to make an adjustment there.
So we have a potential turnaround here in KIDZ. It's come back up to the 65 EMA slowly. Volume's still not great, but it looks like it's trying to make a move back over the 65 EMA, in which case the VWAP would be next. So take a look at this one. Keep an eye on it. Maybe there's something happening here, but we need to see better volume than this. This is the lowest volume it's had so far today.
Yeah, now it is showing a curl here, but again, watch that 65 EMA for the curl through there. The other one here was SLGB. This also is curling. This actually looks like it's holding $1 pretty well. Now you got a VWAP test going on, SLGB. No position for me on either of these, however. Lion, take care of yourself. We'll see you tomorrow. Boy, Lion, you hang out for 5 minutes and then you're gone. That is not a bad life. Eric says, fasting is the way to go. If you can control your appetite, you can control a lot. This is confirmed fact. I didn't believe this for the longest time, but Eric is exactly right. I fast every weekday between 8 a.m. and 12 p.m. the next day. So we are looking at a 14-hour intermittent fast every day.
Vivek is still getting support in this like 745, 750 area. So if this continues to hold, there may be another push higher, but volume is also fading as well. So there could be also a big drop right down to the VWAP, maybe if not through it at the same time. But it's still getting some buyers to step in around that 740 to 750 area. So just keep this in mind if you're looking for something to trade here. This may still try and push higher.
And I do have a fair value gap, the top end of that about 586. We did have one of these wicks go into it. So technically it's not unmitigated, but we didn't spend very much time in there.
Speaking of into it, how's that stock doing?
Oh, that's not a bad transition right there. I'm not going to lie. INTU, let's take a look.
So this one's still getting some support from the 20-day SMA. Needs to recapture that 50, which has been a big old pain in the ass for this stock. This thing has not been meaningfully above or on the other side of that moving average since the year started. Like the years began, and then we lost that moving average, and we have only had literally maybe one day where we printed above it, and that was May 19th. So the 50-day SMA, very big moving average and resistance level for INTU.
And real quick, just an update on the bots trade here. So that 745 call, we ended up stopping out of that due to a loss of the 9 EMA. So that little pullback there to the 9 EMA chased us from that trade. We are 0 for 2 on the bot trading here today.
And Vivek, bubbling a little bit here. Maybe we are going to see some expansion of volume.
All this thing has done is bubble to the upside here today. This thing's been insane.
And there's still a lot of day left, but I don't like where the volume's at, so I'm really not looking to take a position or to trade in this. If it goes here, fine. I just the risk isn't really sitting too well with me here with how low the volume is.
I'm with you on that. And I think what we would, ideally like to see here for a potential another trade would maybe be a pullback down to that VWAP. I've got it at 621, top of the fair value gap's about 590, but that area in there, we would also need a hold here. Remember, stock's up 364%, so perhaps not the best idea to go after it. Is this a CLX put? Trader bought 2,000 contracts of this CLX. This is a 90 put. Spent $500,000 on that trade. That's an interesting one too. CLX to the that's Clorox to the downside. $5 out of the money.
Oh, thanks, Libertas. I'll look into that some more. But when even when ChatGPT starts using things like likely, then it doesn't seem like that's a really definitive statement there. Diamond wafers, it's not something that I really can get my head around right now. But the part about cooling and power electronics, that makes complete sense to me. But my understanding it's more of a packaging thing. But I'll look into it some more. So thanks for that information.
Daniel saying, are there trainings by Benzinga or using their platform? Yes. The more specific answer is the training is by me. The one thing to note here real quick, that if you go to the welcome page of Pro, and this is the same even if you have a trial, the live sessions is definitely something that you should join. We run these every Thursday. The group comes in there, they ask questions, they ask for things to be demonstrated. You can also book a one-on-one with me. This is filled up 3 weeks in advance, so I would use that sparingly. First, join the group session. We also have a guidebook that's a PDF that allows you to just go through the entire platform. So yes, we absolutely provide that. Good question. Going back to the main workspace here, 13.
And there was a mention that we had a Vivek pop right up to 963, and it came right back in. And this was just when I was talking to Libertas, so it happened really fast. And I'm kind of glad that I didn't take a position, because if I had done that and looked away and that move happened, I would not have gone out. So I would have gone nowhere really. So this is why I'm a little bit concerned about trading it up here, Vivek, because the volume wasn't that great. It's getting better, but it wasn't that great. And this pop and drop, I would have completely missed it. So this is one that you have to have both eyes on.
Market Sniper, this is a word of warning here. FML, I was messing with my Webull hotkeys and I just lost way more than I intended. Don't play with your hotkeys during open market, kids. Market Sniper, man, I haven't even dove into hotkeys. That makes me real nervous. I know that probably seems odd considering I'm trying to get a bot to trade for me. But hotkeys, man, I feel like that opens up the opportunity for fat fingers. And judging by how I type to people on a regular basis, I'm like used to making mistakes. Yeah. Hotkeys worry me, man. They worry me.
Yeah, I frequently hit backspace and delete, so I know I can't hotkey trade, so I'm not going to do it.
Unfortunately, the market doesn't let you control Z. If it did, maybe I'd use them more, but you can't undo when it comes to trade placing.
Yeah, this market would collapse if we had control Z at our fingertips. EKS, I like CLX. I've actually been picking that up too. It does have a really good dividend, very, very low price right now. I do like the consumer-facing names. Even the household products. Procter & Gamble might be another good one. Clorox is one that I've been getting into. KHC, Tractor Supply. I like the really hammered down names that pay a dividend, have good free cash flow, that are more on the consumer side. Dollar General, all those names. So those are the ones that I'm looking. Oh, and Kimberly Clark, that one as well. So I really do like some of the the staples and the more consumer facing names that have been hammered down that pay a dividend.
Zach says, my cat once opened a CFD trade. Luckily, I saw it immediately. That happened to me one time, too. Cat ended up hitting the keyboard, which sent an execution for 10 contracts of a stock. So right after I realized what happened, the stock popped and my position was up, and I'm just like, sell all. I was like, all right, Cat, you made me money, but try not to do that again, because that's not going to be a guarantee at all.
BIVK getting weak here.
Yeah, I was just gonna say this candle looked terrible. Now it looks even worse, if that's possible. Yep. Big pullback. We're gonna halt here.
Yep.
679 halt to the downside off a nasty pull.
And man, am I glad I did do a position, because as I remember, I said earlier, I was thinking about it. I looked away to talk, and when I looked back, Vivek had popped and dropped 963 already, and that was it. Now we're all to the downside. We're putting pressure on the VWAP. That's going to be your next area of support. This may be done for the morning.
Yeah, and remember, we talked about the potential fair value gap that's coming up here. It's right beneath the VWAP. I would be careful about this. I would try, if you're going to try this, if you really want to, I would tight stop, and I would try to get a more conservative entry on this. To 13's point, this thing might be done for the day.
I don't know about the day just yet, but certainly it looks like its morning could be over, because this selling is looking like it's an exit and off to off to lunch. It looks like it could be a little bit of that, but we're in just like the first. I think this may be either the first or second halt today. But anyway,
This is the first halt today.
Okay, the first halt. Then I think there could still be another push lower when we unhalt here. So there may be some rebounding, but for the morning at least, I think this is going to start coming back in some more.
Also, real quick here, because this is a good question. Trevor, did you get the cat some treats for that awesome trade? Actually, I did think about that, because sometimes I do the stupidest stuff. I have like the dumbest superstitions. I was like, okay, you by accident literally just made like $400. You better go to the pet store and buy the cat some food. So I did that thinking I was doing the right thing. But bro, you didn't even know. I bought the best cat toy the other day off Amazon. I spent $11.50 on this little thing that you put a propeller on, and then you press the button and it spins it up. And when you let go of it, it shoots this propeller off. My cat thinks it's a bird. He loses his mind, and he chases these things all over the house. $11. It is one of the best toys that I have ever bought.
A couple of things here. Dara is asking, you guys were halted 20 seconds before my broker was? No, we look at a price ladder on our through our broker, and one thing that it tells us when it's about to or going into a halt is the price will stop, and you'll start seeing orders stack up at that price on literally both sides. That's an indication that this is starting to go into a halt, and it usually takes a little bit of time for the halt to actually become official. But there's certain things that we recognize when we're looking at it as the price action is happening, and when it stops and starts to stack up orders, that's usually indicative that it's going to a halt. And then the other thing that I saw that I wanted to mention here, MKC, I think EKS was talking about that, and Selena. This is McCormick's, and this chart looks really good too. It looks to me like we're trying to recapture 55. That looks like the big resistance level that it's trying to get back over. But this one, I can't remember the big thing I wanted to mention about it, because I don't want to get it wrong, but Ryan, you remember Tom talking about this, and
which ticker again? Sorry, I was looking up that cat.
This is McCormick, MKC.
MKC, got it.
There was a whole thing that he explained to us about product formula and reformulation, and I can't remember everything he told us about it, but it seemed like it was something that was going on with McCormick as far as international, I think international sales. So I wish I had more that I could remember, but just looking at the chart, this looks very interesting. Like it is.
The chart is here. MKC. What's wrong with Pro? MKC?
Nothing. I've got MKC up here right now.
Yeah, McCormick, MKC. No, you're right about that. Was I doing MCK? Yeah, probably was. All right. Well, you know what, 13? I wonder if that's in the chat.
Oh, good idea. It's something that he explained to us in happy hour. So.
Yeah, but you might have put it in your. No,
it's not there.
You might have put it in your recap.
I'm pretty sure I didn't, because like I said, there was a lot that he talked about. So if I had written, oh, you found it.
Yesterday, we were discussing IFF and MKC. Reformulation momentum at FoodX. I think this is it. But there is a lot here.
Yeah. I'm glad that he typed it all out, and I didn't have to write it down.
No kidding.
By the way, there's a mention that Kids is trying to recover here. We just moved back over the 65 EMA. It's trying to get back above VWAP right now. So this is starting to get some attention. Kids. KDZ.
Ondas breaking the trend. Hey, Ondas actually having a day here back above 745. Let's see if that can continue to hold up. Oh, yeah, something's going on. Let me try refreshing Pro here. Something is definitely going on.
Vivek is unhalted, and it's getting support from the 9 EMA. It's trying to turn back up here, about to face that resistance from earlier this morning around 747. But I don't think the volume is good enough to take us back up to the high that we were just at. I'm not going to say it's impossible, but it still looked like it's got more sellers than buyers at the moment.
Nasty move here on SPY, by the way. This started to trade up. This started to curl like it was going to go. Here's what the 1 minute chart looks like. Looks even nastier. Looked like it was going to try and go above the 745.88 area. Big time reverse and pull back down here. No additional trades on that. Still 0 for 2 on the bot.
I'm going to look at QMLS for you right now. Just give me a second because I want to. This is only been on the market for a few days, and I want to read a little bit about it.
We'll keep watching Vivek. This still looks weak here. This is open, and it looks like VWAP test coming here on Vivek. Dara, if you get that cat, you have to give me a let me know how it goes. My cat loses his mind over that thing. Daniel, so this is a question that we get all of the time. So you're asking, how can I see sellers versus buyers? So that depends. First of all, remember that this is a zero-sum market. So for every buyer, there must also be a seller and vice versa, which means if you're going to have some type of signal that is making a decision based off if something is bought or sold, that means that whatever's generating that signal needs to get debit and credit information from the exchange in the trade. And not everybody does that. That feed is super expensive. That often happens in unusual options. But what 13 and I are talking about are not actually the trades themselves, but rather the bid and the ask on the actual ladder itself. So the reason that we're able to go quickly is because we're seeing how many people are offering stock at a price and how many people are bidding it. And as those numbers change, we also watch the time and sales to see how much of that stock that's offered actually gets printed. Yeah, see, Trey, you're highlighting the exact same thing here. On TOS, the only code you can do is for volume is whether it was an uptick or a downtick. Again, probably because they don't have debit and credit information for other trades.
Sorry, I'm just trying to get some more information here about Cumulus AI.
Is this what was the ticker on this one? Was QMLS. QMLS. Thank you.
Yeah, this isn't like some of the other names. It does have the NVIDIA angle. It just got onboarded as a cloud partner. They just ordered a whole bunch of NVIDIA Blackwell B300 GPUs to expand capacity, but they are not profitable. They have 61 million in debt, 16 million in cash, and they do about less than 12 million in annual revenue. So I think that would be the concern here, is that they are kind of operating in the red. And I guess that's kind of why we're seeing this thing sell off. There's people that don't want to stick around in this thing. And dang, this thing opened at 45, or I'm sorry, not 45. It opened at what was this, 38, and now we're down here at 6. So I don't think I have any interest in this until I see some indication that the selling is done. And these candles do not look like there is any slowing down right now. Maybe that'll change after today, because these 3 candles, today's and the past 2 days, look like they could be forming a part of a pattern here, but they are very bearish looking. So I don't think I'd be interested in this until I see some indication that buyers are beginning to step in.
Real quick here, SPY, this did try to move back to the upside here. 746 now. It is going. Bot did not take any trades on this.
VIVK through the VWAP to the downside.
Yep.
And now that has become resistance. So even if we do find support here, it has the task now of trying to recapture VWAP. Man, I certainly dodged that bullet. And it's only I only dodged it because I was fortunately distracted, because if I had taken this, I would have had to have been quick on that 963 pop. So I'm very glad that I wasn't part of that trade there.
Now we're in the fair value gap area, so we'll see if this turns around. But 13 just made a good point. Even if we do get a bounce here, you're going to run into resistance back at the VWAP if it gets back up there. And now that's another thing that's going to have to take out to continue. So
yeah, and it could
no position for me on Vivek.
And it could, if these could trade better later on today. We've certainly seen a lot of these movers do really well in the morning and then start to fade, and then they're kind of terrible midday, but then later on in the day they just turn around, go back up, and try to close near or above their VWAP a lot of times. So certainly something that we could see here. Just not really interested in it right now. The KIDZ, this is still getting some attention here, trying to get back above VWAP. It's over it right now, and next is the trend line that I drew from the 130 high, and then the very next top wick after that, which is at 815. That gave me the trend line that I'm using here. So yeah, that through the that one, yeah, right there. That's about how I have it.
Got it. Ed says it's hard not wanting to do this full time when you make more than your day's pay in less than an hour. That is the dream, and that is you are not alone in this. We all feel that. The one thing that I'll say about that is that it seems like that on paper. It's not easy. Don't forget, you can also lose more than you make in an hour when things don't go well. So you'll be happy that you have a job when that takes place.
Yeah, because imagine all your hard work. You lose money after all your hard work. That's something that can happen in this market, but not your job.
And there's a mental toll to that too that really kind of factors into future trades that you make there.
KIDZ trying to push that trend line that I just had you draw. So let's talk levels here. 88, which was that one that I was talking about earlier, support when we first opened and lost. That's now resistance. After that, you've got some areas like around 90. I think 95 was another one that I was mentioning. So 88, 95, and then $1. Those are going to be the next upside resistance areas in KIDZ.
And I have the VWAP at 97, so it's basically right in the middle of those levels that you're mentioning.
Wow, drop bum, you catch those fish, man. Looks like you already started this morning.
There we go. You get a register ring for that, trout bum. Let's go. Let's go. And speaking of Vivek, so I know it's early here, but so far looks like it is trying to hold that FVG there. Mm-hmm. We'll see if it does. Don't feel great about it. Again, no position. Retro says it's been a great summer so far, Ryan. Trade in the morning and then bell service work in the afternoon in Teton Village. You are in one of the most beautiful places in this entire country, man. Those mountains are unbelievable and extremely relaxing.
Daniel, I've been trading for 6.5 years, and I was in sales mostly. I also was a trustee for a couple of people.
Yeah, Daniel, I've been trading since 2014, so that's 12 years now. And before that, I had a number of different jobs. I worked in real estate. I worked in banks. I worked for a gem pricing company, which was an awesome job. But my passion has always been here. VIVK so far holding the fair value gap. Again, don't forget if this continues, VWAP resistance. I've got that number at 744.
My favorite, was in sales. Was selling outdoor equipment for outdoor kitchens, patios, barbecues, things like that. That was a lot of fun. You gotta like what you do.
Gotta like what you do. It's the biggest life hack. If you can like the job that you show up to every day, your life will be that much more enjoyable.
Yeah, investing has been a little bit longer for me, but this day trading, that's been something I started to pick up during COVID, like so many of us did.
Yeah. Yep. Helene stopped out for a few. Did you guys mention AEHR? We have not yet today. We can take a look at that. Where are we at here? AEHR, this is actually a pretty good move. Wow, that's actually a pretty good move. The pre-market level was about $81. This thing's 93, up 21% here. Good move on AEHR. This thing was above 100 not long ago, right? Yeah.
50-day SMA is the resistance.
And I also have, what value do you have for that 50-day SMA?
93.87.
Okay, so that is right here. We are basically testing that right now. I got a trend line that connects the recent highs here as well. That's above 100 if we end up getting there.
There are people that can trade for a living. I don't think that that's the only thing that they do to supplement their income.
Yeah. Every trader that I know tries to do something else as, let's call it, a side hustle.
Yeah.
Whether it's consulting, whether it's a family store that sells widgets or whatever it is, every successful trader that I know has their hand in something else, even if they're investing in other companies. Like our former CEO, Jason Raznick, like he's made a bunch of money. He likes to invest in other ideas that he thinks are really good. And there's this constant need to try and find what's next and earn money through different streams. And I would recommend everybody adopt that.
Looks like VIVK is getting some support here. I'm not sure I trust this to return to the upside right now. Maybe later today, but I would want to see better volume than this, even though it is trying to recapture the VWAP. I still think we could see some resistance, maybe around 7. I don't want to say it's impossible for this to turn around, but I think it may be a little less likely. But if it does turn around here, then that's going to be the first area of resistance is $7, and then maybe 747 level next.
Vivek, this did take. Look at this. This fair value gap is actually working here. Was not added to my fair value gap strategy here just because I thought it was too risky. But hey, looking all right here. We did make it through that VWAP. At this point now, if you did take that trade off either the 15 EMA or the fair value gap area, I got to think you raise a stop now. It maybe put it at VWAP if you want, maybe a couple pennies above VWAP, but something to make sure this trade doesn't go red on you. EKS says diversify. I own income properties too. Great for cash flow and helps reduce those taxes. Totally agree. The other thing here, there was a comment here. Trevor says a big bag of money in fixed income helps. This is one of the reasons why my strategy is when I complete successful day trades, I try to take some of that profit and buy more dividend paying stocks. And that every consecutive quarter, my dividend is higher and higher and higher. That really helps too. A number of things that you can do.
And that is the thing that we saw occur. I believe it was after COVID had happened, like it was around 2022 and 2023 when rates were being raised. You had two things happening. A lot of older people with the kinds of piles of money you're talking about, they were jumping into banks for those fixed interest rates because they were getting like 5% on their from their bank accounts. That's massive if you're retired. Also, they were also rotating a lot of their money into the Mag 7 names because they were safer to be in, but also because they had large amounts of cash piles, which they were also earning 5% interest on. So that was the thing that we saw with those large piles of cash that people had, and that's certainly going to be what we could see again here if we do get interest rates raised again.
All right, 13. We are out of time here for today. Boy, I tell you what, today went fast. We got Anne-Marie coming up next. Do you have any closing words for the group?
Well, folks, we did have a couple of wild moves here today. Maybe the KIDZ trade is coming back here. I don't know, but fun, much more fun trading here today compared to yesterday. But I think the real fun begins tomorrow when we get those big earnings names. So stay tuned. We'll be back here tomorrow. I'll be back here tomorrow. We'll have some fun then. We'll talk some of those big names and we'll make some money. Until then, take care. Have a great rest of your day. Enjoy Anne-Marie. Goodbye.
All right, really good stuff here, 13. We'll catch you on happy hour later and again tomorrow. 13's departure leaves room for Anne-Marie. Let's check in with her. It's a big earnings week. Let's see what she's got for us. Anne-Marie, happy Tuesday. How you doing today?
Good. How are you?
I'm doing all right. Doing all right here. Another day, another dollar, another test run here with the bot, which is unfortunately 0 for 2 here today, but the day is young.
Sideways action is always tough for bots.
Yeah, you got that right.
Yeah, they're always tough for bots. But looks like we're coming into a clean resistance zone right here. And if we break above it, it's going to squeeze a bunch of shorts. So just head note right there. I would let's take a look at SPY.
Okay, perfect.
Really quickly.
And I got an earnings chart here. So if we want to put earnings trades on during this segment, we can do that as well. We can take a look at what's reporting when this week.
Absolutely. So from a weekly chart, you can see we're still range bound. I think we're doing some mean reversion, but the entire market is in a wait state. We've got those huge earnings ahead. We've got the FOMC release. I think, when is that coming? It's in a couple of days, isn't it?
I thought it was next week.
Yeah.
Yeah, let me check for you.
So it seems to me that the traders are getting themselves sort of evened out. And really, from a day trading perspective, this morning I looked at the chart and I said, we're going to have sideways trades. And we certainly have had those. Now, the big thing is that we've moved above that 1 minute high. And so holding above there is going to be key, but it feels like it's a resistance zone in general. So we'll see. Initially, that 1 minute high was the high of the day, and now we're breaking that. So we could get all the way up to the VWAP at 748 if it keeps moving. So it'll be an interesting push. I think there are a lot of shorts waiting up there to sell around this entire zone right
Okay,
here.
well, I'll tell you
So-
what, you're getting that push right now, 747.20, and it looks like it's going for 747.5. And by the way, just to confirm, the FOMC meeting is in fact next Wednesday. 28-29 meeting is on Wednesday.
Okay, so we've got a couple of things to look at. We saw that 3M reported, and they reported pretty nicely, and traders are really trying to push through that edge, but there is a very big resistance zone here. Take a look. It's up at these prior highs that, we're going to see traders, if they went long on this breakout, they're going to say, listen, I'm trimming back, and we could put ourselves right back into the range. So if you're thinking, hey, I like this, but I don't want to just go straight out long, you can do a short put spread if you like.
Can we make that text a little bit bigger?
Sure, let's see.
There we go. Thank you.
Yeah. And so, well, this is very bizarre. I had to reset this. So what do we want here? We want, here we go. We want to look at where the call wall is. It's above the call wall right now, which is at 170. And so the traders they're going to be recalibrating here. My thought is that, this is toppy in terms of the grand scheme of things. And if you want to take a tight short iron condor, let's see where that put wall is. Looks like it's all the way down at 150. So you could do the 160, 157.50, and it gives you about $1.20, which is half the size of the spread. So not a bad move at all in terms of saying, hey, can I collect while the market stabilizes? Listen, I know it feels like price action could move, but statistically speaking, looking at the near-term motion over the last 5 days or so, we are very landlocked. And we're landlocked because we're waiting on decisions. We don't know if
Okay.
oil's going to go higher. We don't know what's happening in the Strait. We don't know what the FOMC is going to say. We don't know how these earnings are going to play out. And in the last batch of earnings that we just saw, everybody that reported well still got punished anyway. So I don't know if they're going to be using it as exit liquidity again. That's something really important for us to think about and consider in terms of what we want to look at.
You know, Anne-Marie, yesterday we had our special guest, Kevin Davitt from the NASDAQ on. And one of the things that he was saying regarding, first of all, tech is still where the action is. But one of the things that he noticed is that these companies that didn't like really blow out their earnings, they got punished, even if they beat. Like it needed to be, remember, when we first started, there were a lot of low bars and we were very easily able to clear those bars. But now things have adjusted a little bit and they continue to adjust. So what we've seen is that companies that don't smoke their estimate or their whisper number, they end up getting hit. Maybe they are using that as exit liquidity.
Yeah. And so to me, that means that we're going to see ourselves in sideways action. So
Yeah.
selling the vol looks like a great idea to me. I think there's more downside risk than upside risk. And you can see if you go back to the SPY, I mean, we moved right off of those levels and it's come right back in. If we look at that 30-minute formation, we can see that it's come right back into the edge. There is nothing that says, hey, I'm trending today. See how flat the VWAP is?
Yep.
A flat VWAP will destroy an account if you're trying to trade momentum, unless you wait for the dips and where your strategy might say, hey, this looks like a short, it really ends up being a long. And that's the one thing that we can look at here and go, you know, I can see that. For me, I am a huge fan of sideways trading because it just works for me. But, and let me flatten this trade. The goal is always figuring out how long you want to hold the trade for, and then if you understand what that is and you go, hey, I'm in intraday motion, then really you just got to wait for the edges and make the trade. And that 1 minute opening that I talked about is so important. Okay, so a couple of things I was looking at. The first is I was looking at GEV.
Okay. This is one of our show favorites here.
Yes. And so my suspicion for GVE is that it is sitting at the top of its range. Notice what it did today. Here's the top of the earnings candle. And we came right in there to the tick and moved completely off of it. So where are we likely to go? This is sideways into earnings. And so my thought is with these guys, they've run really hot. They really have not had any kind of significant pullback. Really. They've just moved straight up. And this is one of the first earnings, the last earnings event is one of the first earnings events that we've had that price action did not break north and stay north, right? The last time that happened was in July of last year. And so this looks to me like what we're seeing. Maybe we can put something in our head that goes, wow, July, this thing really moves sideways, but really heuristically, we've only got, you know, a couple of examples for that. And so the thought would be the fade and then the bounce. And so if you're looking at this, it might not be a bad idea to say, if we're staring that down, and what is earnings? Is it today, tomorrow? When is that?
It was this morning, I thought.
It was this
GEV.
morning. Oh,
Yeah, let me
Was
confirm
it?
that for you.
okay, that's great.
Excuse me, it's tomorrow morning. I beg your pardon. It is
Okay.
tomorrow morning before we open.
Okay, so our momentum event suggests that, hey, listen, top of the edge, giving it back, rotation down, and then the bounce up. So if you're trading that and you're saying, okay, what can I do? To me, I know, Iron Condor again, lady? Yes. So going to this one, and it's got some really nice motion. You can do the 1200 to 1220, and then where are we? I don't like anything less than 850 to 830. That gives us almost half the spread, $8.60, with a lot of room on either side of that motion and a lot of time. My suspicion is that these guys are going to rotate through this formation pretty easily and come back into that 875 area in general. But that's just me. If you want to trade this directionally, I would wait until after the earnings and then follow the earnings candle out with a pullback because the momentum is sideways, moving average is sideways, or on the downside, excuse me, on the downside formation, you wait for the bounce and then you take it short. That would be what I would do. Set an alert, look for, see if they come up into 1200 and above, or see if they break at 860 for the rise to the top, because this flat moving average is going to give you sideways motion over the next 30 days, irrespective of what the earnings say. If it spikes out, it's going to pull back. If it spikes down, it's going to bounce up. Could you take some butterflies? Yes, but the chains are small, and unless you're very good at doing that sort of thing, you know, and knowing how to leg out, it's going to run into a little bit of trouble. Okay, so what are you looking at in terms of earnings events that you want to peek at?
Okay. Well, I mean, I can give you mine here. I would imagine several of them line up pretty nicely with the chat. Chat, let me know. Here's our look again at the chart. I would have to say here, Anne-Marie, that the two that I am the most interested in are going to be Google and Tesla after hours.
Yes.
You can throw IBM in there if you wanted as well. Maybe ServiceNow or Texas Instruments, but I got to go with Google and Tesla.
Okay. All right. So let's choose Google first. And this is very interesting. Notice the last earnings dipped all the way down into the prior earnings event before that, bounced, rotated all the way up, new earnings, could not stay above 400. And now look what it tested, the high of the prior earnings candle, and it's trying to bounce. So the question is, can it hold? Now, there's been a lot of hype lately, a lot of news about Google. If I were a betting man, there's so much hyperscale chatter. One, they're behind on Gemini's new release. They put out some stuff that has got people pretty interested, but look at the VWAP and look at where we are in relation to the moving averages. So I think we're caught in a bog here. If you say to yourself, well, let me see if I can trade that and see if I have motion, you could do a long iron condor. That could be expensive, but if there's outsized movement, it could give us something. So let's see what they are anticipating. Implied vol is at 70. It's at 106 here. So in my mind, this would be one you would want to sell. Let's see where the traders are sitting here. Not a lot of action. Yeah, they're not there. They're waiting. So let's go down to the 7th of August, see if there's any more noise there. Also, no. Oh, that's GEV. Good heavens.
I was going to say there should probably be some more volume.
Yeah, so
Google.
that's 7. So let me make sure this actually says 7. And let's try it again. Okay, so We've got 96. And Google's tomorrow?
Google's tomorrow after hours.
Look at the spread between the 365 spread. The ask is 470 and the bid is 75 cents. So for folks that are a little bit newer, when you can drive, a semi through a spread like that, it's never a good idea to position on those sides. It's never a good idea. So let's move forward and let's take a look at August's. Give it some room, see what gives. And if you are bullish or bearish and you think it's going to be two-sided, you can do two things. You can buy the 320, 310. Wow, that's expensive, right? That's $1.80 if you think it's got downside. The traders, wow, right up against the call wall. Wow. So you could do the 355, 365. You can see there's 10,000 down here at 370, but these are expensive. If I bought both of these together, it would be more than half the size of the spread. And so my thought would be, I'm always going to err on the side of selling. So my thought would be, hey, listen, try an iron condor at the 365, 370, and 330, 325. It's a $5 spread, and you're collecting $3 as a credit, and you're sitting where all the vol is. Now, they are pricing in a $30 move. And so a $30 move would put us up at 380 or 318. So you can see that we are inside of that spread, but I would suspect that volatility is compressed. If you decided you wanted to use those rules, and remember, those are the rules that they look at. You look at the size of the spread, you add it to the current price, and that is the iron condor that you want to position into. And so we get one on that side and 315, 310. It gives us, the minimum is $1. So it gives us $1.80 on that formation. I know a lot of the times that I'm here, I'm always talking about these hedging types of formations, especially literally over the last 3 weeks to month. We really are sitting in spaces where I go, I don't like directional motion. And I don't like directional motion because the broad market is in rotation. The big leaders are no longer leading. And so one of the charts that we look at to remind us of that is this one here. And seeing how much tech has moved relative to the broad part of the market. Notice materials are still down, industrials are kind of holding on, but tech, look at this. Tech was leading, but the ratio continues to drop. And so that is evidence of market rotation. Take a look at this. Financials. Financials are getting bought. It doesn't matter what people's narratives are. If you stare down these rotations and say, wait, what's happening? The leaders simply are not leading in price action formation. They're just sort of dribbling around. And this dribbly motion is, incredibly annoying if you ask me. So
Yeah, it is to me too. And this kind of lines up like one of the things that we've been looking at when it comes to the broader market here is that we're really just trading sideways. Some days
yes,
it'll look like we're going to break out, and then the very next day we're right back down to the bottom end of the sideways range, and we continue this dance over and over again. And it seems like this is reflecting it as well.
yeah, for sure. For sure. Okay, so the next one would be Tesla. Now, remember when SpaceX came out? Everybody was gung-ho. We had these 900 calls somebody put out in the spread. Do you remember that?
Yeah, it was
When
800, and I think it was Morgan Stanley.
Yeah. And so what they were saying was, listen, eventually we think Tesla and SpaceX are going to converge and be one company.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm not thinking that that's neither here nor there. It definitely could be. But here's the thing, there's a potential for a pretty outsized move, but it's going to take time for it to happen. Take a look at what happened here. Last earnings, April, rocketed, followed SpaceX, and then just started the dribble all the way down. We have lower highs. We had lower lows until yesterday, where we held it, and now we're trying to bounce into resistance. I mean, to me, this looks like a bounce is a short. So do you want to say, hey, I'm going to try and watch it come into the last earnings drop before it began to rotate up? So that's 337. Let's see if it can be cheap. Or you're thinking to yourself, hey, it's going to lift. Listen, I really do not see that. Right here, the charts and the individuals are sitting at that crossroads going, wait a second, we thought SpaceX was just going to continue to the moon. Now it's rotating over. It's got a nice bounce today at 120. That was a really nice hold space.
Yeah, it was.
Hoping that it continues to, and again, I've got an iron condor sitting in there, and it just continues to pay every single day. You just look at those edges, and it's easier to trade the range rather than picking a direction, because not only do you have to be right in the options with price, you have to be right in the options with time. And
Yeah.
that is very important. So if you're bullish on Tesla and it comes out and it bounces, take your profit immediately. It does not show any likelihood of continuing to run. And what it's done every single time is go back into its prior earnings candle. And you can see them right here. This earnings candle, it's the low of this earnings candle, this high over here. The high of this earnings candle was resistance, broke through, gave us some more. And so my thought is we go down into 340. You might be saying, or others might be saying, hey, I think it goes to 440. So if we take a look at something like that and we go 340 to 440, and you give it just 10 days, let's see if we can get it cheap. Here's 340. Maybe you do 340 to 330. So you're trying to get it on the cheap, or that's where the call will, yeah. Or 40. So 430 to 440. That's a pretty nice risk reward, $1.70 for a $10 spread. And that's the long iron condor. What are they anticipating? Well, they're only anticipating a $32 move. Market makers are saying it's 23 for today, but 32 is what they're looking at for the 31st. And so our numbers are sitting outside of that range. So what you want to be careful of is saying, well, that's for the big outside move. It might pay off if I use their numbers, 32 plus, what is that, 410 maybe? If you do 410 to 420, and 30 would be 50, and you do 350 to 340, I mean, it's twice as much, but the delta is also 10 times higher. So maybe you say, hey, I'm going to sell that iron condor from that space and then buy the iron condor above it. And so if it does nothing, I'm in good shape because I've sold those edges. If it does something on either side, I'm also in good shape. And if it does zero and sits in the pocket, I'm only down, $1.70 or so.
Okay, that's actually a pretty good way to structure that trade. That's really interesting.
Yeah.
All right, we got 4 minutes left here. You want to try another one real quick?
Yeah, let's do it. What do we want?
I think probably IBM, right? Big Blue.
Big Blue. Whoa. Okay, so what's IBM doing? Structurally, let's see if we can get, let's look at a 3-year chart and see if we can get, well, this is sitting down at pretty important support, right at around the 200 area, right? Yeah, I have to tell you, I trade IBM with a level of disdain simply because I don't like the way they do business. Having had them as both customer and client interfacing, they aren't my favorites. However, this gigantic move, is this the pre-release that they did?
Yes.
Okay, so this sits on the edge of, oh my goodness, maybe I've got more bad news, or oh, we've got this great surprise for you now that we pulled back.
Now that we got the bad news out of the way, it's time to give you something sweet.
Yeah. So my thought is the same kind of structure. We could say, hey, it looks terrible, and it could be further down. So we would maybe be looking at 185 to 175 on the move downward, or the recapture of last earnings, which is 225 to 235. So let's see, because my brain's a sieve. What was that? 185 and then 225. Let's see how expensive these condors are if we give it a little bit of time. Well, the vol drops quite a bit, right? It drops by about 25%. And so if we're looking at the 185, that's only 77 cents. So it might not be a bad idea to say 192 to 185. That's 96 cents on the put side. They're only calling for a $17 move, which puts it at 197 or so, which this is underneath that. And then on the upside, 225 to 232. So the width is the same. It's pretty expensive. That's really expensive. I don't like that one at all. Yeah, I don't like that one at all.
And then IBM, so that's tomorrow. Now maybe since with the pre-release or with the preliminary earnings, maybe we should wait until they actually release their earnings and see what they look like then.
Yeah, absolutely. If you are trying to lean on the side of, okay, let's see what these guys actually are pulling through. We've got the put wall at 200. There's 6,700 contracts there. And the call wall, they've got some 300s down here. So I think these guys are, puking. And so what might happen is any bounce here up into these edges, they're going to sell out of these. And so I literally, yeah, I don't love it. I don't love it. If you're looking for upside pressure, following what they think here is 124. Aha, I know what else we can do. I don't know why that didn't occur to me first. So let's say $25 is the move. So 235 is what we're looking for on the top end of that. So let's say we go 230 to 240. We'd have that at 190, but then let's go further down and sell the 260, 270. It only gives us 10 cents of motion. So it might not be a bad idea if you're thinking they're going to bounce because they've got good news after the edge to just get the 230, 240, because that puts us right in that sweet spot of, how much vol they've built into the trade.
Okay.
Oh, wow. I went over. Sorry about that.
It's okay. It's okay. And we'll check it. We can also check back in on IBM on Friday. You're going to be around on Friday?
Yes, sir.
Okay. All right. Fantastic. Anne-Marie, really good stuff here today. We appreciate it. Have a good one.
Thank
Enjoy the
you.
rest of your Tuesday.
You too. Bye, everybody.
I'm sorry. I didn't realize she was going to say that. I didn't mean to cut her off early. But we're out of time here, folks. Take care. Have a great rest of your Tuesday. Stay green, stay safe, stay focused. We'll catch you tomorrow. Take care.